Push that. Pump that. Work that. Push that. Work out, work out, work out. Don't you want some more? 'Cause I can feel your love. I can feel your love.
There's 4 billion people on social media pushing upwards of 200 billion messages into the world every day. It's super competitive. The biggest thing that controls reach and distribution of content is the algorithms. The algorithms only really care about one thing, and that's user retention. The longer people spend on these platforms, the more ads they can serve, the more profit that they generate. So when we look at content and extending your virality, you have to make it interesting to the general population. Even if they may not care about your subject, they may never have thought about your subject, you still have to play to them to get that maximum reach and distribution. So we call it the generalist approach. But you can find plenty of examples, especially on YouTube. As you know, Graham Stephan teaching finance to millennials. Typically finance is not a sexy subject, so what does he do? How I bought a Tesla for $78. Anybody can consume that content and gain value and entertainment out of it, but still he's playing to the core of his brand and reaching those people.
Welcome to the Think Media Show. My name is Heather Torres, the host of this show, where we want to help you grow your influence on YouTube and then turn that influence into a high income and a high impact online business. And if you're brand new and this is your first episode, we want to welcome you to what we're doing here at Think Media. We're creating a movement of content creators, and we're so grateful that you are here. And if you're one of our returning Think Media fan members, thanks for tuning in every single week. It's been exploding, and we're just so grateful that all that we're putting out there to you is valuable and helpful for your journey. Now, every single Tuesday, we release a brand new episode here on the YouTube channel and on the audio podcast. But if you're not yet seeing or hearing on either one of those platforms, we are putting out exclusive content just for YouTube and just for the audio. So make sure that you are investing in both of those so that you can be getting all of the value we have for you here at Think Media. And today is really special because we're talking all about viral video. I know, I want to learn how to go viral just like you do. So we brought the experts to the Think Media podcast. We are going to be talking about how to learn the essentials of a viral video, the tips for paid traffic and organic traffic on social media, and why the traditional approach to social media marketing doesn't work anymore. So you need this episode if you're trying to figure out how to make the right videos, to get in front of the right people, and get in front of as many people as possible. Well, today, Sean Cannell is sitting down with expert Brendan Kane. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Brendan Kane's work, today is going to be a breakthrough day for you. So get your pen and paper ready or your notes on your iPhone, and let's jump into our featured content.
Welcome back to the Think Media podcast. I'm super fired up because Brendan Kane is back with us. Brendan, I'm not sure if you know, but one of our most recommended books that we recommend to our podcast community and as a required reading for our content team is your book, Hook Point. And we got to talk about that last time. So, of course, we're going to link up that conversation in the show notes. But I'm super fired up to have you back on the podcast. How have things been?
They've been great. A little hectic traveling all over the world, but can't complain.
Can't complain when you're traveling and enjoying life. And man, I'm excited because we're going to talk about really some of the things that are just not working anymore on social media, a lot of things that creators, influencers, businesses are doing wrong. And we're going to talk about paid traffic versus organic traffic strategies. And I can't wait to talk about what you've called engineering virality. Right? And so with that, let's kind of dive in, though, and maybe give us just an overview of who you are and how you help people for people that are just meeting you.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I've been in social media since the earliest stages. I started in 2004, 2005. So I've seen the whole evolution of this. Some people kind of look at me or other social media experts and they're like, oh, they've only been doing this for a few years. But myself and my team, we've been in the earliest stages and initially started in the film industry building digital divisions for movie studios. And that was a unique experience because we would invest tens of millions of dollars into a single piece of content, and then we would need hundreds of millions of people around the world to know about this piece of content in a matter of months. We didn't have years, we didn't have decades. So that really trained me up on how to effectively harness the power of digital traffic and social media to really scale. And that's really how I got started in this whole space, is figuring out solutions to that big problem.
And one of the things you did, your first book was actually kind of also based on a case study of 1 million followers in 30 days?
Yeah, so I had spent so first off, I went from film to paid media and helped advise an agency where we were managing about $100 million in spend for like Fortune 100 brands. I just saw the tremendous inefficiencies of that process, because you would have a huge brand come to you with a piece of content that they would spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to produce. And then they were saying, hey, we want to spend millions of dollars against this piece of content. And when I had asked them, well, how do you know that this piece of content can perform to the tune of investing all this money? They didn't have any data or analytics to support that decision. They were just doing it off of a creative hunch. And I thought that there must be a better way of going about that. So I left working on that company and started building a set of testing methodologies to test content at scale, to really understand what works, what content formats, what structures, storytelling techniques work, so that it would make sense to invest money. And then that extended to journalists, athletes, celebrities reaching out to me with their primary goal is, how do we build an audience so that we can monetize our presence through brand sponsorships and deals and things like that. So I spent about 3.5 years testing content. I probably tested over 100,000 variations of content over that time period. And then I could see the patterns, and I knew that I could do it for anybody starting from scratch, because I would always get the question, well, Brendan, that's great, you've worked with like an MTV or a Taylor Swift, but it's not going to work for the average person, it's not going to work for me. But I knew it could work, so I thought, well, why not run an experiment to prove it? And I thought, why not do it on myself? Because I wasn't in television or film, I was behind the scenes that entire time. But why not do it on myself, starting from scratch, starting from zero, to prove this out? And that's where the experiment for the book 1 Million Followers came, of where I built 1 million followers in 30 days.
That's wild. And so can you unpack actually some of those best practices? And that maybe can help us. That was Instagram, correct?
I did Facebook first, and then I created another system for Instagram and hit 1 million followers on Instagram too.
Okay. And would you say that those principles still work today?
Yes, very much so.
So let's talk about a little best practices for Instagram that you discovered.
So we have a viral content engineering process, and this process works for any platform: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And the reason that this platform or this process works, and works no matter what change happens, is it's deeply rooted into research. So what that means is, most people will think about research as, oh, I'm just going to look at my direct competitors and see what they're doing, without really analyzing the results, and then they try and replicate that. But what we do oftentimes when we're working with a brand or a client, we look at their direct competition, but oftentimes the direct competition is not performing at a high level. So it'll tell you what not to do, which is important as well. So what we do is we extend research to other creators in different niches, whether it's influencers or brands, and really dissect what is causing them to go viral. And when we're looking at that, we're looking at nuances. So we have over 50 different performance indicators that we're looking at. So this goes down to like pacing, tonality, number of edits, first 3 seconds, thumbnail, headline, caption, all of these variables. And what we do is we have a research process that's called gold, silver, bronze. So we can take any account or any format, and we break it down into these 3 things: gold, silver, bronze. So gold is the highest performers. So that's like the viral one. So if we're looking at an Instagram account and their gold maybe is like 5 to 10 million views per video, and then we look at their silver, which is their baseline, their average, which may be like 1 million or under, and then bronze, which is their underperformers, which is like 100,000 or less. And for the average person, these numbers may be big, but you can still learn from it. So what we do with that is we study the gold, and we look for these performance drivers. We look at the hypotheses of what we think is causing this content to go viral. And again, it's not about the content, it's about the context. So the nuance, these nuanced details that I mentioned. But then once we come up with these hypotheses, then we have to check, do they show up in the silver and the bronze? Because if they show up in the silver and the bronze, we have to knock it out and start all over again until we find these performance drivers that don't show up in the silver and bronze. So that's the core crux of our process, and this process is backed by about 60 billion views and 100 million followers and $1 billion in revenue. And the reason it's so successful is we're not going after brand guidelines. We're not going after creative intuition and just driving into ideation. We're always starting with research first to determine what's working today. Because as you know, things are changing constantly, whether it's a new feature like Instagram Reels, a new platform like TikTok, or the algorithm changes, things of that nature.
So let me know if I got it right, and I want to unpack some things for our listeners. The first that's so powerful that she said is the mistake people make is they only research their competitors, and their competitors might not be doing very well, or they only look if the other channels on YouTube, the other Instagram accounts they study, they may not be doing very well. And what you suggest is actually go find the people killing it the most on the platform, extrapolate what you can learn from them and apply that to your content. And if you're just starting, that's your best case as well, because you don't have any of your own content to measure. So really try to reverse engineer content best platforms, not just the other real estate agents or the other people giving social media tips or the other people. That's incredibly powerful. Do I have that right?
Absolutely, because most people, they may not even look at their competitors. They may just jump into creative ideation, coming up with ideas and producing them and not really knowing. And the other big challenge is, like, even with like Instagram Reels or TikTok, they'll give you some free wins and you can go viral a few times. But if you don't understand why it went viral, then you can't reproduce it over and over again. And that's where you see people build large followings, but you see a huge discrepancy in their performance, as maybe their hit rate is 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30 that go viral, versus our passion and what we want to do is how do we get that hit rate to like 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3. So there's not this wave and fluctuation of performance in your content.
Beautiful. And that, again, you could start applying that. You're saying research. One of the things you should start with is research, which is actually we have in our proprietary process for YouTube, our first R is reverse engineer. Our second one is then research. Start with the end in mind and then start actually researching first before you press record. And so if you don't have content, you could study best practices. If you do have content, go into your library and look at your gold, your silver, and your bronze and try to identify the winners and pull principles out of those. Is that accurate? Because once you've got a data set, how many videos do you think people need to post? They always ask this. Let's just say YouTube. You have a YouTube channel. How big of a data set, 10 videos posted, 20, 30, would you say you need to actually start getting enough insights of your own content to start pivoting your strategy?
Well, I think you can start with as little as 10, but the big thing is what is your performance to date? Because if you haven't broken through, then analyzing your own content is not really going to help. If you haven't gotten a breakthrough video that's had a few million views, then it's going to be tough because you're looking at underperforming content. So what we always want to do when we're doing research and insights is figuring out how we break through. How do we break through at the highest levels? Because that's how you learn, is looking at the top content creators on the planet. So I wouldn't recommend really diving too deep into your content until you've had that breakthrough performance. But in addition, like as you know with YouTube, you can start looking at your retention graph. You can look at your click-through rate on thumbnails and things like that to see where that's falling off to fix the problem. Like if you have a high click-through rate in your thumbnail, but your retention's not good, or your retention's good, but the click-through on your thumbnail is not good, that gives you a clear indication of where your performance is breaking down. But just be very careful of analyzing your own content in the beginning, because it may just get you in this hamster wheel of just doing low performing content and not looking at the things that really truly.
Just for Men gives you your strongest, fullest, thickest looking beard yet. Must mustache and beard. Now with keratin. In just 5 minutes, score your best beard ever. Just for men.
One might say we're synonymous with shopping for homes.
Yes, one might say.
Your next time, son. Copan, what move should I have made to avoid checkmate from my dad?
Based on this image, you should have moved your queen to e5. Want to break it down further?
Yeah, help me out here.
I'd love to.
Yesterday, you couldn't see the move. Today, you see the whole board.
Style and substance. In the GMC Sierra. Or get 0.9% APR on these Sierra models. Or get over $5,300 total value.
Beautiful. Now, one thing I know that will pique our listeners' mind, though, is your definition of what breakthrough is. And would you say that breakthrough is only millions of views, or is there a place where actually a lot of our clients sometimes are in like hyper-specific niches, and sometimes we use the term VFM, viral. for me, because if you're getting 10,000 views or 15,000 views and you're a loan officer and that's leading to just an outrageous amount of inbound leads that's helping you grow your business. You're in financial services, you're in local real estate. One of the people in our community, Levi from living in Dallas, him and his partner Travis did something like 92 million in the top line real estate revenue, which translated to you know, 3.2 million in real estate commissions, and they were under 5,000 YouTube subscribers. But they just had so much inbound of people finding their channel, finding their content about specific neighborhoods. So yeah, frame that up, because you're this viral specialist, but I think that maybe sometimes listeners might feel a pressure that if I don't get 1 million views, there's not necessarily a viable business there, or I'm not winning, where we've actually seen sometimes smaller numbers, if it's the right viewers, can be all you need to accomplish your end goal for your business.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And kind of when I talk about breakthrough performance, it's in the research and insights process. So when we're analyzing other accounts, we want to be analyzing accounts that are doing in the millions of views. Now, that doesn't mean that has to be the goal for yourself, but they're obviously hitting a chord. They understand the nuances of how to tell a story, how to grab attention, how to hold attention. So what we're saying is, let's look at the highest performers in social, learn what is causing them to have that level of virality, and then take those learnings and apply it to our content. And like you said, is like one of the great analogies that I say is, let's just say your video performance on average is 1,000 views a video. And of those 1,000 people viewing each one of your videos, 50% is your core target. Now, let's say that we do this research and we master the nuances of what's causing these other creators to go viral. And then we take our video performance from 1,000 views to 100,000 views. And obviously, as we know, with scale, that core percentage of your target is going to drop. Let's say it drops down to 20%. We just went from 500 potential customers to 20,000 with each video that we're producing. So the goals are personal to yourself. Like you said, you don't have to be in the millions of views to build a business, to build an audience. But we're saying, let's study the people at the highest levels to learn what they're doing so that we can apply it. Because if we're, let's just say, in the 10,000 views a video or 100,000 views a video, and we're just studying other people that are 10,000 or 100,000, you're not going to figure out really how to break through and take it to that next level.
I love that. That's incredible clarity. Let's kind of pivot to get some of your best practices by going from the mistakes angle. So you get to observe, of course, brands and businesses. Our listeners are individual creators for the most part, many that are in the education niche. And so they're, again, real estate, fitness, some on the entertainment side and more vlogging, but it could be DIY crafts, sewing, parents that maybe are helping other parents with solve problems, tech reviewers, all kinds of different things, teaching something on YouTube predominantly. The mistakes people are making that are just killing viral before it even starts. What are some of the biggest ones that you see people making today?
Yeah, we just covered the research side, which I think is a huge place that people are falling flat. I mean, that's why we've pivoted our entire company only to do research and insights. We don't produce content or anything. All we do is deliver research and insights to creatives. But I think the other big, and I don't know if I want to call it a mistake, it's not understanding the world that we live in today. So when I started in social, I remember the exact day MySpace released a press release saying that they reached 1 million users. And that was a huge thing. You fast forward today, there's 4 billion people on social media pushing upwards of 200 billion messages into the world every day.
Wow.
It's super competitive. And as you and I know, the biggest thing that controls reach and distribution of content is the algorithms. And there's a lot of misunderstanding of the algorithms. And one of them is they suppress your reach on purpose to get you to pay for reach. That's not the case, because nobody would ever go viral. The algorithms only really care about one thing, and that's user retention. The longer people spend on these platforms, the more ads they can serve, the more profit that they generate. So what they're really looking for is content that they can see to the widest possible audience and hold that attention for the widest possible, or for time. So when we look at content and extending your virality, one of the things that you had mentioned is niche business owners. So even with a niche business, you have to make it interesting to the general population. Even if they may not care about your subject, they may not have thought about your subject, they may not be your core customer, you still have to play to them to get that maximum reach and distribution. So we call it the generalist approach. We're not saying ditch kind of the context that you want to provide to your core audience, but how do we make it interesting to anybody? So most people think, oh, you can't do that for a niche thing. That my subject matter is not sexy or interesting. But you can find plenty of examples, especially on YouTube. Clear Tax Value. It's a YouTube account with over 1 million subscribers. They're averaging 300,000 to 500,000 views a video. They have several videos over 1 million views. It's about taxes. As you know, Graham Stephan, teaching finance to millennials. Typically, finance is not a sexy subject, so what does he do? How I bought a Tesla for $78. He's making it interesting to anybody that wants to view that content, but he's still teaching the fundamentals that he wants to deliver. Or a real estate agent, Ryan Serhant, over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. What does he do? He sells property to a very specific audience, people that can afford 10, 20, 30, $50 million properties in New York. But he makes it interesting by saying, hey, let me take you on a tour of a $7 million closet. Let me take you on a tour of a $250 million ranch. Anybody can consume that content and gain value and entertainment out of it, but still he's playing to the core of his brand and reaching those people. Even if it's a fraction of 1% off 1 million views, that's extremely meaningful. So I think that generalist approach to content is where most people are still operating on the old paradigm, which worked before when there was less people on the platforms, less competition. But when we look at the fact that there's 4 billion content creators on the planet, we really need to play to what really controls reach and distribution and virality, which is the algorithms.
Well, I hope that you are enjoying today's conversation. And I wanted to let you know that if you want to go deeper with us here at Think Media, one of the best ways to do that, to further your online education, is to take one of our free on-demand classes. You can go to thinkmasterclass.com, where we do a 1-hour free deep dive class into what's working on YouTube right now and how you can gain subscribers and views and income from your YouTube channel. We have several different options for you, but the latest video for you to watch is at thinkmasterclass.com. This video is not available anywhere on YouTube. This is only exclusively for our Think Media community who are ready to go deeper with us. At the end of that class, we share with you an opportunity to become one of our members inside of this movement of content creators making a difference in the world. So go to thinkmasterclass.com right now to get signed up for your free 1-hour YouTube on-demand class. Now, let's get back into today's featured content.
So, number one, it's a huge mistake if you're not doing your research first. Number two, not understanding the platforms and operating in the old paradigm and not the new paradigm. What are some other old paradigm mistakes you see people making?
Well, I think frequency is a big one. And I'm not saying frequency doesn't have its place. Frequency can lead to success, but only once you fundamentally understand your format. What works, what doesn't work. You know, I see a lot of people talking about you need to be posting every day, multiple times a day. But how does that help you, especially what we talked about the algorithms? The algorithms are not going to reward you because you're producing more content. They're going to reward you because you're producing content that grabs and holds attention for as long as possible. I think also there's still, and again, I'm not going to say that this was never a play, but people are so focused on like hashtags, time of day, things of that nature, which those things aren't going to take a poorly constructed piece of content and automatically going to make it perform. So our core focus is on the content itself. And we're a big proponent of quality over quantity. I'd rather see somebody spend 2 weeks or a month on a single video than to burn themselves out creating a piece of content every day and not learning from it. Again, there are content creators that have mastered their format and can scale with that. But if you're just starting out or you haven't really broken through, I always recommend taking a step back and really getting something to perform and then increase the frequency if you deem that that's appropriate. I mean, we know Mr. Beast, he's the most subscribed person on YouTube across all his channels. It's like he'll take months to to produce a single video. And even in the beginning, he would take that time to really master that art of what it takes to create content that holds attention.
And I'm glad you brought this up. This is a huge debate, and I know people are like, okay, is it quality? Is it quantity? Speak about the timeline to that, because sometimes quantity at first can be like your first few days of showing up at the gym, though, to develop just some basic fundamentals of form, maybe even before you're ready to dial in quality. And to that point, I think Mr. Beast had 200 videos out before he even kind of got a little bit of steam. So there was quite a bit of a quantity before he learned the nuances that he knows today. So people are looking for like a black or white answer, and I do feel like it is a little bit gray. I like that you're saying ultimately quality, especially if you study Mr. Beast, there's a play there. But then there's others, and a guy I'm watching is one rental at a time. It's a very niche news show for people that want to do real estate and rentals. Meet Kevin for a while, who also, similar to Graham Stephan and Andre, he was doing 3 videos a day, a lot of financial news, not live streams. He would shoot them quick, edit them quick, jump on some headlines. He was pulling 20, 45, 65,000. So I feel like, and fighting for the listener, can you give me an answer? I mean, it's this quality quantity tension. There's a lot of different distinctions on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that going back to Mr. Beast, because he was recently on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan asked him, like, how did you learn how to go viral? And Joe, not understanding this, said, did you watch some tutorials on YouTube? And he's like, no, there was no such thing at the time. So, and I think he said that he was like in the 60,000 sub range, but he found 4 other crazy lunatics that were high school dropouts. And for 1,000 days straight, they would jump on Skype for up to 10 hours a day, breaking down every nuance of virality, putting 1,000 thumbnails and measuring like color and gradients and things like that. And he said after that exercise of doing it, all of the people in that group accelerated their growth dramatic. They were all over 1 million subscribers in a few months. So even him, he was in that process of understanding, doing the research. I recently hired a young kid that started on YouTube when he was 10 years old, and he was producing content every day for years, and he didn't have any growth.
Wow.
But then when he started doing the research and understanding it, that's when he exploded and built a channel with 1 million subscribers. So again, it's like that research and insights part is critically important. I do believe to what you said is you don't want to like get into analysis paralysis. You do want to create content. The biggest thing is, are you learning with each piece of content that you're creating? Because I think so much of the frequency game is just produce content and things will magically happen. But again, maybe you have 1 or 2 that work, but if you don't understand, then it's like, well, how do you reproduce those results? And again, Reels and TikTok, because of the way the algorithms are structured, they're giving some free wins out there to get people, addicted to producing content for the platform. But then you see people fall off a cliff. And I remember this. So I did the first ever influencer campaign. On YouTube in 2007. So I was in that insular community of the first ever YouTubers. And it was interesting because in the beginning, it was much easier because there was no such thing as an influencer. And they were having these free wins. And I'm not saying that their content wasn't good, but they were growing like crazy. And then as more people got on the platform, the algorithm shifted a little bit, there was a huge crash. And a lot of influencers got wiped out at that point because the ones that succeeded were like, okay, we're going to figure this out. We're going to understand what was the change. How do I hold attention? How do I really create better content? And those people survived the crash and picked back up.
Wow. One thing I heard you say in terms of best practices, new paradigm, old paradigm, was you don't really recommend batch producing. Why is that?
Because we see that So basically our process is we do research and insights, and we create hypotheses around these performance drivers. And again, it's not about the content, it's about the context. And then we create those hypotheses, and then we go into the ideation phase. So we don't create ideas until we've done the research, so that we have, data informed ideas. But then we go into single production iteration. So we produce one piece of content at a time. And the reason that we do that is when we review the results, we want to understand, did our hypothesis hold true? And if the video underperformed, two things happened. It's either we chose the wrong hypothesis or we didn't execute the hypothesis correctly. And one of the easiest exercises people could do is in that research process, we create a reference. We single down into a reference that we want to emulate from a storytelling perspective. And after we produce that piece of content, we put the new piece of content on one side of the screen and the reference on the other, and we play it side by side and really have an honest look. Did we really replicate the performance drivers that we set forth? Versus if we're batch producing content, it gets lost. Mm-hmm. You may set a hypothesis for 10 pieces of content, but again, if you didn't execute that hypothesis correctly, or if you chose the wrong performance driver in that hypothesis process, then you just basically spent all this time and energy on 10 pieces of content that you could have knocked out with just doing one. So that's why we don't really suggest doing batch unless you really have a strong data and analytics way of analyzing each piece of content on its own.
And to be clear, and you could speak directly into our strategy, like right now, you and I are on a video podcast.
Yeah.
This video podcast comes out every Tuesday. There's no reason why we're avoiding going viral, but I have a feeling this podcast is not going viral. It's also hitting the audio platforms. It's for a very niche audience. And we do want to grow the podcast. Clips from it certainly could do well, and we are not only executing that, but we're going to execute that even more. But in some cases, batching might have a place. Would you agree or disagree? Where if you're doing something like what we're doing right now, but really what you help people with is engineering viral, that there's maybe some of your energy that you want to devote towards these breakout pieces of content. And in that case, batching would not be the proper approach.
Yeah, I would even say, like with podcasts, like the approach that I would do is do research on Lex Friedman, do research on H3, do research on Joe Rogan, and study those nuances of those breakthroughs and apply it to each podcast that you do. Because there are very clear patterns. They're very nuanced. Like you have to really understand what you're looking for. But there are very clear patterns that you can take away with each piece of each podcast or long form piece of content, or even the clips that you can learn from to apply to that. So I would say our process is for any type of content that you're producing, whether you anticipate it going viral or not. My kind of philosophy is if you're going to produce a piece of content, why not maximize the potential of it and learn with it? Because I think another thing that you'll see on all channels is you'll see people that have like 2 million subscribers, but then they're generating like 10,000 views a video. And that's a shame because they spent all this time, energy, and effort accumulating this audience, and the algorithms aren't seeding their content to that audience. So why not take all of the time and energy that you've put into accumulate that audience to just get better at reaching more and more of it?
Strong. Who are some of the top of mind YouTube channels specifically that maybe lean more educational? You mentioned some of them earlier, but when you look at YouTube channels to study that our listeners may want to check out that are maybe lesser known, and people a lot of times will mention the big names, they'll mention a Mr. Beast, or in personal finance, a Graham Stephan, but what are some interesting channels that we can learn some lessons from?
I think Clear Tax Value. Listen, they're not going super viral with every video, but their baseline is really strong. Their baseline is 300,000 to 500,000 views a video, and that, for taxes, that's pretty amazing. Dr. Mike is a well-known one, but he's taken medical to that. I don't know how well Ryan Serhant is known in your circles, but I think he's done an amazing job of the generalist approach. We've done a lot of work with Mind Valley, which is an education company. Their performance is all over the place, but they do have some major breakthroughs in performance. I think from a podcast perspective, it's really fascinating to look at Lex Friedman because he's a disciple of Joe Rogan and he's kind of mastered some of those. So I think looking at, if you're in the podcasting space, looking at kind of what he's done is pretty interesting. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. I may come up with some more.
Beautiful. People ask paid versus organic growth and paid versus organic strategies. What are kind of the pros, cons, and mistakes when people should be thinking about both of those approaches to generate really a business result?
Okay, so there's two parts to that. So let's just talk about organic, for example. I would never put paid behind an organic piece of content that is underperforming. Because again, paid is just going to give you reach. It's not going to cause somebody to stop and watch the content. So we have used in the past very successfully is like, if you have a viral piece of content that takes off, there's always going to be a plateau. And that's a time where you can use paid to push it again to see if the algorithms pick up on it and that organic reach pulls off. Paid is a very effective tool from a direct response standpoint, but we want to separate organic from paid. So we see organic as a tool to earn the right to make a sale, and then paid as a tool to retarget that organic to make a more direct response call to action. You can also use paid for cold audiences too effectively if you, again, know how to effectively tell stories, if you know how to do the research and insights on other ad creators and dissect what they're doing well.
So one of the things you're mentioning is that you want to create generalist content and at times have that generalist strategy. You reach a large audience that gives you more people to retarget. Have you found it to be effective? Though, is retargeting lower cost in that case? If you've reached a generalist audience, like you said, it may not be your ideal customer. And I watched a training video from you where you broke down a case study of John Cena being in whatever brand and having just kind of a wide, entertaining, far-reaching viral piece of content first, and then they were able to retarget. Can you tell that story and maybe illuminate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so my friends run a company called Shareability. They're one of the top viral video creators on the planet for like Fortune 100 brands. And they took this approach of entertaining first, earning the right to sell. So they did a campaign with the wrestler John Cena where they were in a store and they had a background of John Cena, like a paper background, and they had fans standing in front of it saying why they love John Cena. And then he would jump out the back and surprise them and get that shock factor. Generated several 100 million views organically. But what they saw was, okay, we're not there. It was for Cricket Wireless, and they did have Cricket Wireless branding on it, but they didn't make any type of sale in that. It was just entertainment value. So then they did a direct response ad targeting those people saying, hey, this is John Cena. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you're interested in learning more about Cricket Wireless, go to this destination. It was wildly successful. So they reproduced that viral video, but the reverse side. So John Cena came in thinking he was going to do the exact same thing before, but this time it was the fans surprising him. So he was sitting behind the cameras in a different room, and he didn't know this was happening, but fans came in and started reading emotional letters about how they've impacted his life, and it brought John Cena to tears. Again, there's no sale that's going through that, but they earned that right, and then they retargeted them with ads. Now, like I have a friend, Craig Clemens, who's the top copywriter in the world. He created a company called Golden Hippo. They've sold over $2 billion worth of products, and they sell it direct off of cold ads. But what they do is they tell that story in the ad. Like these ads are like 30 to 40 minutes long. So they're telling this story through the ads and building that emotional connection, building that trust and credibility. So there's multiple different ways that you can go about it. There's no one way to go to make a sale or to leverage paid. But just I think a big mistake that people make is they treat their organic feed as kind of like an ad feed. And that always falls flat.
Yeah, so treat your organic feed as storytelling, meet people, edutainment. You need to entertain, storytell, connect emotionally, and that's going to ultimately lead to your best business results. I heard you say really the business is driving social in a lot of cases when instead social should be driving the business. Can you explain that more?
Yeah, so when we look at major brands like Apple, I don't know what their subscribers, it's tens of millions of subscribers. That's not driven by social. That's driven by their brand equity and the hundreds of millions of dollars or more that they're spending on ads on external places. You look at like The Rock, for example. I think he's the most followed person on Instagram now. People think, oh, he did that organically. No, he didn't. Like every movie that he's in, they spend $150 million to promote. He's on the cover of every magazine. He's on billboards. He's on television ads. Like those are external forces that are driving that in. I'm not diluting it by any means, but oftentimes we look at large brands or large celebrities and we're trying to study how they grew their audience. And a lot of times it's external factors that are driving that growth and not an internal factor like a Mr. Beast that's purely grown off of social. So it's really understanding the delineation between those two.
I love that. So, and you'd be better off studying the homegrown, and you had a case study in that training video between Chanel and Best.Dress. And it was the fact that these homegrown social accounts are much more effective in a lot of situations than these big brands who do have huge amounts of followers, but way less engagement because they're not doing the best practices, right?
Yeah, 100%. And there's examples of like multi-level marketing and network marketing is like we're working with one of the largest companies in the world because they have 2.5 million brand reps. And those people are the reason for their success, and they're all selling through social. So for us, it's like that homegrown approach is working for them. Now, how do we amplify it? So it's like, again, there's other ways to go about it, like network marketing, multi-level marketing. They have all of these brand reps that are pushing their product for them as well.
Awesome. Well, as we land the plane, I do want to get you to give me your next few moves that you'd recommend for starting now, if you feel like you're starting from scratch and the competition is too big. But before we get there, of course, I want to recommend the listeners grab your book Hook Point, and we'll link everything up in the show notes. But you also have goviral.hookpoint.com. What are people going to find there if people want to connect with you and work with you?
Yeah, so at goviral.hookpoint.com, essentially is we do the research for you. So every week we're breaking down a new influencer, content creator, brand, and we're going in depth into why they're going viral. So we do that gold, silver, bronze research for you. We give you that research sheet. We also give you a recording, an hour-long recording of us breaking down and talking to that research sheet. And then we also give an activation guide that's like a 10 to 13 page PDF that breaks down all the things that we've learned and key takeaways that they can apply to their social strategy.
Amazing. So if you're interested in that, you can check all those links out in show notes, whether on YouTube or, of course, the audio podcast show notes. As we land the plane, if someone's looking at the giant of the close of 2022 going into 2023, man, competition is big. Of course, consumption is higher than ever before. The new numbers I heard is this 2.6 million monthly active users on YouTube, and there is growth in these platforms. New emergers, TikTok is blowing up. I've heard Facebook organic has a revival happening there, and I'm sure you're always seeing great stuff happening on Facebook. So there is, of course, the big opportunity, but could it be more real that the competition is there, that it's hard to get reach? Especially when you're just starting, it could seem like there's a major uphill battle. What would just be your 1, 2, 3, first couple steps for the person that feels stuck and is trying to start from scratch and get like their first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube?
Well, I would assume that most of these people are using these platforms. So when you're using these platforms for your personal consumption, take an active approach instead of a passive approach. When you're watching content, try and understand, why did I choose to click and watch this video? What is it about this video that's holding my attention? In addition, if there's videos that you scroll past, what was not interesting about that? So really just start to try and learn from the content that you're consuming to understand what is driving performance and what is not driving performance. And listen, it takes time to get good at. That's why our whole company is based upon research to do it for people. But just try and become a student of the game. So I think that that's the first piece of advice. And then secondarily is really, whether you're batch producing content, creating a piece of content individually, are you learning from each piece of content that you're performing? And if you're just starting out, you may not have videos that are performing, but are you trying to learn what is causing it not to perform? So like we said earlier, look at your thumbnail click-through rate, look at your retention graph, which one is broken? Is it you're just not getting enough people in the door, and or is it that you're getting people in the door but they're not staying for a long period of time? So again, just be conscious of the content that you're producing and try and analyze the results. And then the final thing is, it's just a mindset thing. Is like, you've said this on several videos, but are you in this for the long haul? This isn't a magic pill. This takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to work. And if you put that time and energy in and you learn what causes content to succeed, what content goes viral, and what detracts from that virality, you will ultimately hit it. Because that's where most people fail, is A, they're not doing the research, they're not understanding it, but B, they get creative burnout, and then they just stop.
Strong. One more question. Books that have influenced you the most in regards to building a business, marketing. I don't know how many social media books are out there. Of course, people should read yours, but maybe it's even something that's a little more obscure that you've extrapolated principles to for winning in a 2022, 2023 world, even from older school. What are some of your favorites?
I would say my favorite book of all time is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, it's just amazingly written, and I think you learn a lot about human psychology and your kind of preconceived notions about how you're representing yourself versus how people perceive you. And then I think that there's some interesting books on psychology, like Contagious by Jonah Berger, or even Malcolm Gladwell's book. I mean, we layer a lot of human behavior and psychology into the work that we do because it's such a fundamental process of being able to tap into audiences at scale.
Yeah, those are some great recommendations. And of course, you can always check out the show notes for anything else along those lines. Brendan, appreciate you so much. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to connect with you and everybody that tuned in for this.
Wow, wasn't that just amazing content? I'm ready to make a viral video. How about you? Well, this episode is so power-packed that I recommend that you go back and listen to it. Or if you've not yet watched it over on YouTube, I recommend going and watching it too. Sometimes just changing how you're receiving information can really help to soak it in more. So if you listen to this, go over and watch it. If you watch this, go over and listen to it as well. Well, I want to thank our Think Media community for supporting us here on this free show. It's been amazing to see this community grow and to see all of your comments flooding in on YouTube and on the rating and review feature over on Apple Podcasts. Today, I want to shout out Rory and Sage from our Think Media community. Congratulations on almost 1,000 subscribers, guys. They're at 864 at the time of recording. So I know you're almost to that 1,000. So I'm going to forward congratulate you on that. And thank you for leaving this comment. This is so inspiring and motivating. It's like hanging out with other creators. Love it. Well, Rory and Sage, we cannot wait to hang out with you soon. And thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here on Think Media and over on the podcast as well. It's so encouraging to read your comments and to hear what your aha moments are from different episodes like this. And when we bring on our guests, you guys are so honoring to them inside of the comments. And I know that that'll be the same for this episode as well. Well, again, if you've not yet signed up for our latest free YouTube class, that could be your next step with us, where we're going to be breaking down the secrets to success on YouTube, what's working right now and what's not, and how you can get breakthrough and make your first $1,000 or get your first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube without a fancy camera, without years of editing experience, and without having to spend 50 hours a week on your YouTube channel. You can sign up for that free class over at thinkmasterclass.com or click on the link down in the description box below or in the show notes. Well, thanks so much for listening, and we are so excited for some of the future content we have for you. So stay locked here, subscribe wherever you're listening, and we'll see you in a future episode. Bye.
Always say, like, I want to go full time to get to that 100,000. I got to 100,000 subscribers in my spare time.
You took the niche of your channel and you eventually came up with a creative idea that has now generated over $400,000. How do the economics break down? Tell us the whole story.
I was working like $20 an hour at a graveyard shift 3 nights a week. I actually got to double dip, and I've shot a lot of my older videos. It's me in that lobby. It's me in the back office. Nobody's there. 2 in the morning, I'm shooting a video. And in some of them, I'm making the background music that you're listening to in the office, in the back office of the hotel, and I have the camera here, and you're hearing the music, and it's saying, making this track you're listening to right now.
I think one of the biggest trends in 2025 is the revival of rank videos, evergreen content, and search-based content. And actually getting back to some of those fundamentals. A video he posted 7 years ago still brings in views daily, while his unique product generates over $400,000. And in this episode, he's going to be sharing why he thinks most creators are focusing on the wrong things. He's also going to be talking about surviving 7 years on YouTube and why ignoring platform changes made his creator career actually more successful. We're going to unpack the set and forget content strategy and how one basic tutorial turned into consistent revenue. And we're going to touch on some of the mindset stuff, including maybe having an unsupportive partner and the mindset shifts that can change everything. My guest today on the Think Media Pod is Chana De Silva, known as Techno Dad. He's a prominent voice in the home theater and immersive audio space. His career has evolved over the years, from side hustles, doing YouTube, from DJing, to now not just launching a very successful product as a creator that's really different than what anybody else is doing. And I think it'd be very valuable for you to be inspired for maybe a product you create. But even towards the end of the episode, we'll be talking about how he's evolved and reinvented himself and even launched new business ventures, all because of the power of YouTube. Chana, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up, Sean? What's up? What's up? Hey, I just want before we start, I want to let everybody know this guy here, this guy changed my life. So big ups to you, Sean. You know, VRA was 2017 for me. I started the channel in 2016, and man, that first, I got through the content in October 2017, and then we went to Vid Summit. You had some super discounted tickets. I was like, oh, LA, I can do that. And then that Black Friday strategy, 4 videos, like I was able to get 400,000 views that Black Friday, that November, because of the strategy and the tactics I learned in VRA back then. And that, obviously not 4 videos getting 100,000 views. No, it was like 4 videos got a whole bunch of people looking at all my back catalog stuff. But, you know, only for a year, but that was huge, man. That was huge.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. And I think this conversation is going to be so rich because there's a lot of people that want to start channels. But you mentioned, I mean, you took our program Video Rake Academy like 7 years ago, 6 years ago. You've been on YouTube for a while and you have reinvented yourself and also pivoted and adapted. And so let's start off talking about evergreen content, talking about ranked videos. Your most successful video is 7 years old and it's still getting views. Walk us through exactly what made this simple tutorial have so much staying power.
It's the fact that, you know, I knew how to do this. It's very simple. It was actually a viewer requested video. Imagine that. I'm looking in the comments. The guy asked the question, hey, can you make a video about how to plug or how to connect speakers to amplifiers? And in my head, I just shouted at the screen. I'm like, you plug it in, you know? And I'm like, okay, hold on. You know, I've been doing this since I was 12. I was like, you know, in my late 30s at the time. So I was like, okay, hold on. Let me make something like this and let me encompass all the different, you know, things they might run into, right? The different type of connectors, because there's spring connectors, there's binding posts, there's this, there's that, there's spade connectors, there's all this kind of stuff that you can use. So I just did this very thorough thing. And, you know, this is back when I was shooting on, this is an iPhone 15, but I shot 417 YouTube videos with my iPhone 7 Plus. And I didn't buy this fancy camera, this Sony FX3, until I got to 100,000 subscribers. So for those of you that are thinking like, oh, I need all this cameras. No, you don't. No, you don't. And if I go back to some of my videos from back then, oh man, my skin tone's all wrong, the lighting's wrong, but the audio was sound. So $70 mic, lav mic that plugs right into the phone, and your money. Like don't spend any money on that kind of stuff. I think I finally got a DSLR when the channel was making steady money and it was like at around 28,000 subscribers. So there's that too. So
I love that.
It was a basic video. I used my cell phone and it's just me and I'm cracking jokes, you know, while I'm like doing the, you know, stripping the wires and this, that, and the other. And people are just kind of chiming in. Last year, someone was like, hey, I'm just getting new to this. Me and my son are doing this as a hobby. This video was huge. And, you know, I get comments like that, like, you know, once a month, twice a month. So it's pretty cool since it's so old.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're listening to this, I mean, just imagine having a video that you posted 7 years ago. You know, that's still getting views to this day. And it makes me think of a couple of things that we teach. We teach TSS, teach specific skills. You were just sharing something really simple and practical. And then we also talk about our ASQ framework, but sometimes we joke and we call it the ASSSQ framework. Answer simple, specific, stupid questions. Like sometimes you mentioned, you're like, you just plug it in. And it was just common knowledge to you, but it's not common knowledge to people that are just getting into it or people that just bought something online and now they're trying to figure it out at home. And so I know that everyone listening to this has different niches, but sometimes some of the most basic and simple videos that are properly optimized, properly set up, can get views for literally years to come. Is there other videos in your channel that you've seen, maybe they didn't last that long, but that has ranked videos been helpful for your YouTube journey?
Ranked videos for sure has. Do you want? Hold on. Do you want to know how much that video's made in its lifetime?
Yeah.
$7,900.
Dang.
One video. So
one
if
video,
you were to-
$7,900, one video that you posted that was super basic and like not super hard for you to create, and you shot it with an iPhone 7 Plus. Still ranked videos. So you do a mix of content. I mean, that's I think what's also is sometimes when people follow our stuff, they think like, oh, the only thing you got to do is rank videos. It's like, well, no, you might have a show, you might have a video podcast, you might cover some trending content, but like, how much have you focused on, maybe especially in the early days, on like searchable ranked videos and things like that?
I had this trick, man. I would make the longest title possible, right? And this is when tags were like a huge thing. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to hit multiple 3, 4, 5 keyword tag strings in my title and pull out a whole bunch of things. I was also showing people how to set up their Xbox Series X. No, this is before that. And then the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro. But I knew that people that were searching for, it was the same steps for each TV, the Sony whatever, or the LG whatever, same steps. But I know that people with an Xbox aren't searching the PlayStation, and the people PlayStation aren't searching Xbox. So I do 2 identical videos, but I'm showing the Xbox one in this, I'm showing the PlayStation one in this, same steps, and the titles and the tags are all, specifically for those consoles. And that was huge. I'm getting 12,000 views on each video, especially in the holidays, right? When people are buying these things and buying new TVs and or buying the consoles and trying to figure out how to get 4K HDR gaming going on, all that kind of stuff. Having those things ranked, each TV, used to do a lot of TV reviews, as you know. Each TV, I would make 4 videos. The unboxing, how to set up eARC, the Dolby Atmos. Also, what internal apps are using Dolby Atmos that you can get from the TV? Is it only Disney Plus, or is it not Disney Plus? Or
I trusted you. I trusted you. I trusted you. I trusted you.
At Ace, we know not all paint is created equal. So to do it right, start with exceptional paint that's designed to last. Only Ace has this collection of premium brands like Benjamin Moore, Magnolia Home by Joanna Gaines, and Clark & Kensington. And your local Ace has premium service and quality paint that stand up. test of time. With gallons of paint like Royal, starting at only $29.99. And right now, buy a gallon of Clark & Kensington or Royal Paint and get the second one 50% off.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
You know, Netflix or Hulu or whatever it was, I would just kind of go in depth in that and then show people how to set up the 4K HDR, and then I would make the full final review video. So I was kind of maximizing the product, because at the beginning, none of these companies wanted to deal with me. So I'm buying it. Luckily, I had a very successful DJ business where I had all this extra money. So I was just like, oh, I can buy this $600 TV, right? And then people are asking, why did you buy the LG over the Samsung? I was like, oh, okay. Oh, let me buy the Samsung. And then I compared the two. And and then, you know, ranking the videos, boom, 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 was just the way. I'll tell you this. I got the most hate on the Samsung video, and that video ranked #1 for 9 months. 9 months. And it was 2018. It was the Samsung's new QLED TV, and the thumbnail was just the TV, and it was this white letters with red background warning. It's like, do not buy the Samsung QLED. So if you Googled or went on YouTube and typed in Samsung QLED and hit enter, my video was #1 for 9 months.
Is that, why'd you get hate? Because people love the TV and you were kind of had a contrarian perspective?
Yeah, you know, the Samsung fanboys came out in droves. And like, there's people that, you know, wrote in all caps 3 or 4 comments in the same minute. I'm like, dang, you were angry. This really triggered you. Sorry.
You know, it's an interesting key to virality that, like, things that are neutral just typically don't get great views, but things that are polarizing that, you know, just take a stand in one regard and trigger conversation. So that's fascinating. I think it's also interesting. I love the principle of maximizing what you have. You know, newer creators would look at a channel like yours, you get free headphones and speakers and amps and TVs, and like life seems pretty good, but you hustled your way up. You had the DJ business, you put in the work, you shot the videos. And so while of course a newer creator can't compare to somebody who's getting a lot of free gear or has big budgets or companies are sending them free stuff, take whatever you have, split it 5 ways with different videos on it, grab one other thing, compare those things and growth hack your way up. That's very similar to my Think Media mindset. Before anyone was sending me cameras, before any of that stuff, I just was very resourceful with whatever I could get my hands on. And you know what's interesting is you're talking about like the longest title possible. I see this trend so clear going into 2025. I actually think there's a pretty big revival of search-based and evergreen content. It's never gone away. VRA continues to work. It continues to really help people. But there's been this era of like curiosity titles that just don't reveal anything, you know, like this, this TV is the craziest thing you got to see, ... And it is not search based because it doesn't have the Samsung or the model number or the QLED or whatever. And the idea is that it might go viral and it might, you know, get that more suggested type of traffic. But I think what's happened is there's been so much as competition rises, and maybe as people get fatigued with clickbait a little bit, or they don't know what they're clicking on. Like they have, like, I also kind of want to know what I'm going to watch. Like at some point, it's like there's all these just unclear what's going to happen on the other side of it. I think one of the biggest trends in 2025 is the revival of ranked videos, evergreen content, and search-based content, and actually getting back to some of those fundamentals, because it's also the practicality of maybe it doesn't have a huge spike at the beginning, like a more clickbaity title, but this is the type of content that builds legacy. It builds up a library and it ranks longer term. So throughout the year, for 9 months, when a search-based video keeps getting views, then you're playing an entirely different game than what 99% of creators are ultimately playing. Every day you want to start your YouTube channel is another day of missed opportunities and untapped potential. Here's the truth. YouTube reaches more 18 to 49-year-olds than all the cable networks combined. The opportunity is massive, and the Think Media team and I want to help you seize it. I'm excited to announce our YouTube 1K Challenge, a free 5-day event that will give you the exact blueprint to start and grow your YouTube channel in 2025. Whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, or somebody ready to grow their personal brand, this challenge is your roadmap to success. To register, just go to tube1kchallenge.com. We're going to be doing one training session a day for 5 days, and you're going to learn how to get your first 1,000 subscribers and start earning real income. Insider strategies that make viewers want to click on your videos and keep watching. Multiple different ways to earn money from your YouTube channel, even if you have a small audience, and how to build an authentic personal brand that truly connects with people. But it gets even better. We are giving away prizes every single day of the challenge. You could win professional microphones, lighting kits, and premium content creation software. And during this challenge, you're getting access to the exact training that we offer in our $4,000 coaching program, but you're getting it completely for free, and you can start with just your smartphone. So if you're ready to turn 2025 into your YouTube breakthrough year, go to tube1kchallenge.com to register. That's tube1kchallenge.com, or click the link in the show notes or YouTube description to register for our upcoming challenge.
I'm curious, what's your philosophy on creating content that lasts versus chasing trends? You kind of talk about like you don't really chase trends. Have you before, or what's like your balance?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've made Black Friday videos.
Yeah.
You know, I actually just made one the other day, and it's, you know, honestly, it's really just a way for me to promote my product now. I don't really care about the affiliate sales or the AdSense, the ad revenue, you know. So I do it to help my viewers try to figure out, hey, you know, what receiver should I buy? What should I stay away from? And then I ended up buying one for my brother because he just got into a new place, and it was $550 on sale for $300. I was like, oh, you know what? Let me buy this for him and see what it's like, because he got some speakers, a pair of speakers from his from my cousin. So it was just like, oh, he just needs one more thing, and then he's got sound, right? And then I'm making that video separately from the Black Friday one, where when you go with a lower end AV receiver, the room correction's not good. So using my product to manually calibrate is actually better. You'll get a better experience. So it's kind of a way to, you know, kind of link a few different things together. So I do a little bit, I'll make a holiday. I have a sponsored video working on. This thing came yesterday. The video's got to be out Friday. I'm giving the gift of sound, of music, you know. Another one's going to be giving the gift of audio. That's the one I'm making the video with my brother at his place. And you'll see me stripping cables. I even, I do this silly thing where, I got this, in my mouth, doing all this fun stuff. And I think
break that down. You've got, for listeners too, you've got a teeth grip for your GoPro for a perspective shot.
Yeah. For like hands-on.
Yeah.
This is actually, I was shooting it last night. This one's actually a necklace mount, so I can talk and it'll be, kind of like right here. I got to put it underneath my shirt so it stays, but like, yeah, you'll get the idea.
Yeah.
And then the mouth one is if I don't need to talk. And this is actually not the GoPro. This is the DJI Action Cam. And as much as I love my fancy Sony FX camera, I've been using the DJI Pocket 3.
Yep.
All the time. I shoot this 10-bit, and since this has the same color science, everything matches up with the color grading. And then it's
which action cam?
It's the DJI Action 5 Pro.
Okay, so you got the DJI Action Cam, the DJI Pocket 3, which is like, that's my favorite camera of the year, my favorite camera of the recent era. Anyone using it, people using it for vlogging, but it's so versatile. You don't have to vlog with it. You could do all.
I use two. I bought two.
You bought two.
So I have two microphones, and at CES or any conference, I have a dual shot.
But you also
Right.
have it two angle then. So like for him,
Yeah.
you could just, I was thinking about that. I was gonna, for doing like the podcast in person, I was like, man, that's a podcast studio that fits in like two pockets. Cause literally it's
I bring a satchel, and like the key are these little $20 selfie sticks from Amazon
that are kind of like monopods, but they've got the try at the bottom. So you can then stand, bring those up to like eye level.
Oh yeah.
Two angles. Do you turn on tracking?
No.
Okay. No. Do you just get the shot framed up?
Yeah, I frame it up, and it's great in editing. And in one time, the DJI messed up, and we were out of focus. We were blurry. So I used the second cam because it was a great interview. Right? I used the footage from the second cam and took a bunch of B-roll of the TVs. TCL had, they're an NFL sponsor, so they had cheerleaders. So I had the girls go shake their pom-poms at every TV. That was part of the B-roll.
Part of the whole thing at CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. We got a little bit geeky there for anyone that stuck with us through that part. But what's kind of interesting here is that even this is very tactical. Does the DJI Action Cam 5 also do the 10-bit?
Yes, 10-bit and shooting D-Log, and they have a LUT that you can just download, boom, pop it in. Colors are amazing.
Got it. And then, so you do 10-bit on both cameras. It's all DJI, so it all matches. All three then of those cameras are all very small. You can do a perspective shot. The microphone setup is also all integrated on each of those pockets. It's actually pretty wild. That is an entire studio that almost could fit in like a 6-liter chest bag. Like,
oh yeah,
crossbody, like a very small backpack.
I have a satchel that I take. Well, I used to have I had that Peter McKinnon, the largest bag. Yeah, and now it's just a satchel with I do have like these little lights here.
This is like fanny pack creator culture. Like you don't, it's getting so small, and then when you're shooting in 10-bit and D-Log, which if you're new to what that's saying, that's just a camera setting that really makes your footage look a lot better in editing.
These are with me as well. It's another selfie stick with this Amaran light. I have two of these, 2 cameras, 2 lights, 4 tripods. Well, 4 little selfie sticks. This is actually my hair light for right now. That's just off to the side, and they're all app controlled. And it's amazing that all the stuff I used to spend money on back in the day, you don't need to spend a lot of money anymore because the technology is so great. You just need to know the settings. You need to know how to operate it. And yeah, it's great.
Man, this Think Media podcast video just turned into a Think Media video. But the cool thing is we'll go ahead and create like a full, simple list if you want to see that setup of gear. Because you just blew my mind understanding all of those pieces uniquely. That whole setup makes sense. Like that's like, and relatively affordable, all things considered. You're shooting 4K, final results, beautiful, but it's all small, streamlined. So the question started with you
We're going into a really tough division.
It's risky. As hell. We are all dreaming. Back-to-back promotions.
I'm very much into this.
the question started with you do chase. Well, no, it's great. And I love where this is going. You do, like, you might jump on Black Friday. You might jump on some holiday stuff, doing sponsored videos, but you also create ranked videos, which just speaks to the idea of like having trending content and evergreen content as both a part of your strategy. Where I want to go next is actually, you just mentioned though, that you created a product. And I remember you came to our event, you've been there a couple times, but our most recent one in Las Vegas. And
actually, that was the first time I went to Growth Video.
Oh, it was the first time you were there in person. Other than that, I guess we've hung out at like Consumer Electronics Show.
Yeah.
We met up a couple times in person. Okay, so that was the first time ever coming to the event. And I think we ran into each other in the hall by the elevator, and you're like, bro, I launched a product and it's done 300 grand and now it's over $400,000. And what's so interesting is, everybody in the creator economy, like the main mindset is like, someday you're going to create an online course. Like that's like the thing, But what's so crazy is I want you to talk about this product, and it ties into the fact that you've done all the different things, and we'll break down a list later on in the episode. But you've done, of course, ad revenue and affiliates and sponsorships. But you took the niche of your channel and you eventually came up with a creative idea that has now generated over $400,000. And to your point, if you do a Black Friday stream, you get to serve people, maybe a few affiliate clicks, but it's nowhere near creating your own product. I've learned that your income is directly correlated to the amount of buy buttons you have on your website, and that 99% of creators don't even have a website and they have 0 buy buttons, and that's probably why they're broke and they don't have very much income. But sometimes productizing, it might be a multi-year journey. It's not something you do instantly, but once you figure that out, tell us the story. What is the product? How did it come about? What was the first version? How did the economics break down? Tell us the whole story.
Okay. So the product is called the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. And essentially, like I've been into music for a long, long time. I've been a music producer. I have original music. I'm getting like royalty checks, like very small, for original music in TV shows in Australia. Like I've been doing this for a long, long time. So with Dolby Atmos, I've been covering Dolby Atmos since the channel in 2017. If you don't know what Dolby Atmos is, Dolby is surround sound. So you got like speakers around you. But now Dolby Atmos is like atmosphere. So they add speakers above you on the ceiling. So in the movie, when the plane flies over you, you hear it. And in the superhero movies, it sounds, people flying around. It sounds really cool, right?
How many? So is it 7.1? Is it more than that?
So 7.1.4 is the kind of standard. So 7 ear level speakers. The 0.1 is the 1 subwoofer, and then the 0.4 are 4 height channels or 4 in-ceiling speakers.
Wow.
So now we're at an 11 speaker system,
And is one of the ways you were able to get your own music is because you create 7.1.4 music, which is that more rare? And that can,
this is actually what I'm moving into now. But before, to create this stuff, I just created in the same music production software, Logic Pro, that I've been using for years, even before Apple bought it from eMagic. Like I've been producing music for a long, long time. And my buddy was doing remote calibrations, and he's like, hey, can you I did drop, like, going backwards a little bit. 2020 came, and channel was doing great, growing by 4,000 subscribers a month. My channel talks about upgrading your TV and your sound system. Well, guess what? Everybody was at home. What are they doing? They're doing all that. My old TV videos from years ago, people are still buying the older models because they're super discounted. And then they're watching all the connection videos. And so my ad revenue is going up, but my affiliate commission is going up. So it was great. 2021, I tear my Achilles dancing in Vegas, actually. Anyway, different story. But I was out for a good 2 months. And during the 2020, a lot of smaller creators started building up their home theater based YouTube channels. And they were doing stuff I was doing in 2016 and 2017. And so once I started, I couldn't move a TV. I couldn't move this. I couldn't move speakers. So I had to find a new way because I couldn't walk, So I decided to be like, oh, hey, maybe I should start trying to like make Dolby Atmos. If it's just music and it's in the music software, I ended up dropping like a lot of money on like an 11 channel speaker system in the studio. I already had a 9 channel upstairs in the living room. That's where I was doing all my reviews. But in the studio, in the downstairs, I dropped about a good like $20,000. Like it was pretty rough.
Can you do it on headphones? Is there headphones that mix?
You can, and it's okay, but to really like balance levels to the point of
you need to actually be in the environment with the actual speakers so you can actually mix for it. That's interesting. I'm also curious, what were you saying in 2021? You tear your Achilles, so now you're kind of like sidelined physically a little bit. Meanwhile, small creators are coming up, which are essentially competitors. Small creators, they're pumping out videos, and you're like, shoot, like I got to kind of pivot and adapt because of this challenging season I'm in. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. And since I have a background in music production, I was just like, okay, this is easier for me. Much harder for them, right? Whereas, they're doing the same thing I was doing. When the channel back in the day was making $600 a month, I would take that $600 and I would buy an AV receiver at that price point. And then the next month, one month I buy the Sony, the next month I buy the Onkyo, the next month I buy the this or the that, just so I know, how the menus work. Whereas Den and Marantz, I knew their menus by heart, right? So I know like, okay, this is not work. Because the other thing about all these videos, you end up being customer support. They're not calling customer support. They're asking me questions, and yes, I'm from that, I was like, yo, this is Chana. How can I help you? I'm from that part of the world. So I kind of like felt like it was part of like what I was doing. So that was another thing, they were starting to do that. So once they started doing that, I was like, okay, I can't do that anymore. And then I'm at the point where like, dude, I don't want to buy any of this stuff anymore. Like I've been doing this for 5 years now. And that's when like Sony, Samsung started sending me TVs, and then I'm like, send me the 55 and they send me the 65 and they're like, yeah, we sent it to you. We sent you the bigger one. I'm like, no, now I have to have somebody else to move it. Growing in that sense, I was still doing those.
Listeners might be like, you're obviously not complaining. You're humble and grateful about it. But like, it's like a real issue. Like, I just have too many TVs. Like, my house is just too cluttered with tens
empty
of
boxes. Empty boxes, bro. The guest room was filled with empty boxes because I had to ship the stuff back. I had to get a storage unit.
Empty boxes. It's kind of that like this could sound super out of touch, but it almost becomes a burden. There's another tech YouTuber I won't even name. Like his entire house, like to the ceiling of every room, is like full of tech, and he like wants to be very secretive of even where he lives because he doesn't want to get robbed. And he's trying to think about like it's like it'd be hard to give away. You could give it away, but like it's hard. Like you got to ship it, and then like you're also still trying to like keep the. And so we are not complaining, but that is one of the burdens that is also a benefit that can come with being successful. I want you to continue your story, but I do want to highlight, I think actually a really huge lesson. You pivoted because all the small creators started like doing all the tutorials. So you're like, why even do that? They're doing it as well. And you're reinventing yourself plus your circumstances. But you said a huge nugget. When your channel was earning $600 a month, you reinvested all $600 a month back into your channel. And that's because you kept DJing, right?
I actually had 4 jobs, man. I was hosting karaoke every Tuesday. I had a graveyard shift at a hotel 3 nights a week.
You're
Graveyard.
hosting karaoke. How much money did you get paid for karaoke?
$150 a night. So,
dang, bros. Okay, so you're hosting karaoke. What was the second job?
I was working like $20 an hour at a graveyard shift 3 nights a week. Where I actually got to double dip, and I've shot a lot of my older videos. It's me in that lobby. It's me in the back office.
Of like security?
No, it's just front desk.
Front desk?
But yeah. So like nobody's there. 2 a.m. I'm shooting a video. Like I'm writing a script. I'm editing, or I shot the video and I'm editing it all there. I walk the property twice a night. I do their paperwork, and then I have like 6.5 hours to just not sleep. They don't want you to sleep. Okay. And boss man was like, yeah, totally do whatever you want to do.
Ooh, dude, that's a hack. I mean, that's an interesting niche job, but people are trying to wonder, like, you're bringing in nuggets in the practicals. Okay, so you got the graveyard shift, front desk, doubled, kind of like
I'm DJing at the ski resort in winter on the weekends. I'm DJing weddings also at the ski resort in the summer. And then I like...
Grace should be paying attention to this parent-teacher conference, but she's been watching CSI for free on Pluto TV. So instead, she's focused on this mysterious strand of hair.
But I don't know if there's any...
Only runs of tests. Feel the free. Pluto TV.
And then I like people always say like I want to go full time to get to that 100,000. I got to 100,000 subscribers in my spare time. That's also something that like don't rush it. Don't rush. Like it'll happen. Like it's not a matter of if it'll happen. It's a matter of when.
This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy-to-use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators, and so to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com.
Evan Carmichael, I met him at a Vid Summit. He sat next to me and he's like, he's asking me where my channel is. I'm like, like 30,000 subscribers. He's like, how to get to 100,000? I'm like, how? He's like, answer every comment. So I did. I had my graveyard shift, boom, 3 hours of answering comments, right? Sometimes I upload, you know this, I'll upload a video. Next day, I got like 100 comments asking questions. I got 30 people on my Facebook page asking questions. I got 20 people in my email asking questions. Twitter, like, it's just... you're bombarded by all this. Luckily now, like, you can kind of, hack it a little bit with like AI being like, hey, chat, I got all these questions. Give me some quick answers, and it'll go through it. But back then, there's not, it's just plugging and chugging.
What was the fourth job? I love that tip about answering every comment. But karaoke, graveyard shift, DJing.
Oh, yeah, I was teaching music. I was teaching guitar and piano.
Jeez. I mean, coffee? Like, you don't need much sleep? Like, how'd you do it?
I am a machine, bro. So like, I wanted to, and this is like just when I started with you guys, because you and Benji did the audit for all the new incoming VRA students on the channel. And you're like, this vlog stuff you're doing, don't do this anymore. Stick to the home theater stuff. So I tried to be like a Casey Neistat. I'm like, let's see how far I could go. And my goal was 7 days, 1 week, right? I ended up 49 days in a row, right? And I not only did the 7-day vlog, I stayed up with 3 of my home theater / tech videos per week. So 10 edited videos per week for 8 weeks straight in 2017.
While working 4 jobs?
Yeah. Well, that. You know what? Gary Vaynerchuk says, you document, you don't create. So the first night I was DJing Monday night at the bowling alley. So that's the vlog. I'm doing this. Then Tuesday night. And then it's like, I started doing timestamps of like when this is happening. People are like, dude, when do you sleep? Because it'd be like,
how much sleep do you typically get? Like, how much do you need?
Back then it was like 5 hours if I'm lucky.
Okay.
Right. And it got to be quite the struggle, but it got me so good. 10 edited videos. Now I'm not talking about shorts. I'm not talking about live streams that you cut up on top. 10 edited videos. And in some of them, I'm making the background music that you're listening to in the office, in the back office of the hotel. And I have the camera here. And you're hearing the music and it's saying, making this track you're listening to right now. So it's just a whole bunch of like, I was creative and I was just letting it all out. Monday night, I'm at the bowling alley. Tuesday night, I got music lessons. Then I'm doing karaoke. Wednesday, it's music lessons. Music lessons, graveyard shift, then music lessons, graveyard shift, then graveyard shift, DJ in the morning, graveyard shift at night, DJ like during the day. Like that was the first week. And it was just, I was like, holy crap.
What was your family situation though, responsibility wise?
It was, my ex-wife and my stepson, and he's 21 now. So 8 years ago, he was what is that, 13, 14?
So he wasn't a baby. You didn't have like
no, not at all.
Different seasons of life. I think that's kind of interesting. What I love about this though is a couple things. One, it's like to each his own. People need different amounts of sleep. I need a little bit more. Like I'm a big like shoot for 7 or 8 guy, or else I get pretty grumpy. There's certainly been seasons of crazy sacrifice. There's also been this pendulum swing though. And I think there was this era where hustle culture, quote unquote, kind of spearheaded by Gary Vee, dipped into like all kinds of, there was huge articles and people are like, oh, it's so toxic and all that stuff, which maybe there's an argument to be made for that. But I think there was something that's lost, and there's a lot of stuff lost on the extremes. It's actually in the NIV translation, a Bible verse that says the man who fears God avoids all extremes. And so it's like, we get into these things where it's like, oh, but it's mental health. You got to rest. Well, like for sure. And so it's like, and hustle culture is bad, but it's like, if you don't work and if you don't put in the hustle, if you don't actually put in some, the grind, Thomas Edison said opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and it looks like work. And a lot of times the people who are getting results in YouTube and online business in any area are maybe working 4x, 8x, 10x harder than you. And yet you're wondering why you're stuck. But I think it's like, if I look at your story, I want every listener to at least feel this. Maybe it's not 10 edited videos scored while working 4 jobs like you did, but I want to encourage every single listener, you can put in a little bit more. You can grind harder. You can get a little bit more focused. You could get a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more dialed. And you can do so while also working your job and hanging out with your wife or being in whatever situation that you can just do it. Like, and I like kind of what you brought up. Like you clearly sacrifice other things. I'm imagining there wasn't really a lot of leisure. You certainly were sacrificing sleep. And you did it for a season.
Yeah.
But look at you now. Too. Like
at the same time, I'm DJing, dude. Like when I'm DJing, it's not work. You know, 4 hours
exercise too. Fun. Yeah. You're moving.
I'm moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
People are buying me shots. Like it's a party. What leisure? What party? Am I going to go to where now I'm getting paid and I'm just
you kind of designed your whole lifestyle. You sort of were like doing a lot of different stuff. Like you like to DJ, you love music, teaching guitar and piano. The graveyard shift allowed you to get paid while editing videos, which is a crazy hack in this equation. And then karaoke. That's gotta, dude, you just designed your whole lifestyle around like music and the stuff you love.
Yeah, essentially. I found a way to monetize a lot of my hobbies, right? The DJing, the guitar, and then this whole home theater thing is now helping me do more with music now in the situation I'm in now, which I'm sure we'll get to in a little bit. But
okay, well, we just side quested. This has been a fun conversation. So that was 2021. You tore your Achilles, and you set up your own 11.
Okay, set up a Dolby Atmos mixing studio in my room where I was shooting my YouTube videos. Since I still had that room, I still had a space. It was small, 10 by 14 space, small. And I started understanding how it was working, and I started realizing that like things aren't happening exactly as Dolby's marketing department is trying to get all the consumers to believe. Mm-hmm. And so my friend needed some files, and I was like, oh yeah, I could do that in my sleep. So I gave him, I made these files and sent it to him, and he used it to do these remote calibrations where they dial in all your speakers and all this, that, and the other. And he's like, hey, if we put something together, people would buy this. And so I made 160 Dolby Atmos tracks for this product, about 200 tracks altogether, just to like figure out how it all worked. And then my buddy
cut 40. So you did like 2, and then the 160 best ended up on the actual.
So here's how we did it, because we didn't want to spend money. So the way we launched it was that we did it as a pre-order. So if you buy this, and this by itself is $99. The digital is also $99. The bundle, digital and physical, is $149. So that we had the digital and physical bundle on a pre-order for $99. When you ordered it, you got the immediate digital download, and the disc would ship this was in December 2022. The disc would ship in February of 23.
Like you're kind of getting it easy to throw it in your Blu-ray player.
Right. You have just more compatibility, because there were compatibility issues with the files coming in. You had to have the right player. There's all this kind of like, it was a little bit of a headache. For those that are like super in the niche, they already had all that equipment anyway. Right. It was just, so we just, for mass appeal, we also didn't make it 4K. We made it 1080p just so that more people that don't
Is it a
have
DVD or a Blu-ray?
That. Push that. Hold that. Work that. Push that. Work out.
You know Cheez-It made extra toasty?
Of course. Want it, need it, Cheez-It.
Well, there's a saying that atrial fibrillation begets atrial fibrillation. It is a progressive condition, and the earlier that it is detected and treated, we can prevent that progression, and there's a better chance to maintain normal rhythm for a patient when it's detected earlier.
So the question of what are the symptoms of atrial fibrillation, it can be quite variable for patients, and that can also be a challenge because everyone may not have the same symptoms. But in general, the common symptoms are going to be a rapid pulse. Some people may feel palpitations, an irregular pulse, which can also be felt as palpitations. People can sometimes feel short of breath, possibly chest discomfort, dizziness, fatigue, exercise intolerance. Rarely, but sometimes people can pass out.
If it's not detected early, not only can it be progressive, but it can lead to other cardiac problems such as weakening of the heart muscle or a condition called congestive heart failure. And it's also been demonstrated that if patients have atrial fibrillation and it's not identified and they're not treated with a blood thinner to protect them from a risk of stroke, it could also be a risk factor for dementia. So protecting the overall cardiac health, protecting and preventing the progression of atrial fibrillation, preventing perhaps onset of dementia and risk of a stroke. These are all reasons why it's important to identify it and treat it as early as possible.
Is it a DVD or a Blu-ray?
It's a Blu-ray. So Blu-ray is 1080p, DVD is 480p. If you didn't know.
Got it. So, okay. So Blu-ray is 1080p, and then it also can contain the data to be able to do this higher level Dolby Atmos audio.
Correct.
Blu-ray can also be 4K.
It can, yes. Yeah. Okay. We made it. We also didn't know how much space we would have for all these files because video takes up more space. Yeah. So it was also one of those things. So we ended up doing we launched it as a pre-order.
Did you get a business partner?
Yeah, my friend Joe Intel. He's also on here. He's the one that created the guide and kind of like the whole okay, we should have these sections and those sections, and then he also thought of instead of doing a Facebook group, doing a Discord community to help people. That was kind of how we did support, right? Was through the Discord. And through the Discord, we only had 120 files at launch. Through the Discord and through our regular guys, we found out that we should add certain sections. We found out that one section was actually kind of not right, and we needed to tweak something. So what's on the disk is actually version 3. So we were able to do a release we did the launch mid-December. In January, I did another update.
Mid-December of what?
2022.
Okay.
And then in January 23, middle of January 23, I redid a bunch of files, added a new section that apparently one of the favorite sections of all our customers is this one that was suggested to us from one of our patrons. And it caused me to, straight up 4 days of work. Luckily, I had the graveyard shift to do it. Making 16 of these files took about 8 to 10 hours.
Wait, and could you make the files at the graveyard shift? You weren't in your studio.
No. That was the beauty of it. Once I figured it all out, I could do it visually. I didn't have to listen to it at all.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm a clever dude. So you should have seen some of my Instagram stories. I would have 3 computers at the graveyard shift. The one at the front desk, my Mac laptop making all the Atmos, and then my PC with another mouse and keyboard. And I'd have like 3 mice, 3 keyboards on the desk for all this stuff.
Are you still
and I
working
would
a graveyard shift?
Yeah.
Like, because you just love to, I mean,
I needed, I honestly, like, at the end of the day, I didn't want to be at home.
Got it.
Is what I realized.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but multiple flows, you got all kinds of flows of income. You're still doing it to the second, though.
No.
Oh, no. Okay. Got it.
No.
Did you go through a recent area where you're like, you know what? I don't have to DJ anymore. I don't have to karaoke anymore. Or are you still doing some stuff?
Karaoke stopped. Teaching music stopped at COVID. Karaoke stopped at COVID. DJing stopped at COVID. And DJing came back, and then I didn't start karaoke over again. My friend who was helping me host, he called me. He's like, "Hey, do you mind if I do it?" I'm like, "No, dude, go for it." And he now does it like multiple nights, and he's all huge over there, and it's great. Last year in October, I decided to take the leap and, move back to LA and file for divorce. And so I don't do a whole lot of that actually at all. Now it's all promoting the product, selling the product, working on a new product, making more YouTube videos, started another business I've been doing this thing where I would mix Dolby Atmos music for my viewers and give them a file to download, and they stick it in their home theater and they can hear all the sounds, and I give them a visual representation so they can see what's actually happening and where the sounds are in their room. There's this little box, and they're like this little head, right? And you see these little tennis balls like moving around and stuff like that. So
is there a specific software that allows you to mix it that way and create the visual?
Oh yeah, it's called a Dolby Atmos renderer. So it's like a proprietary Dolby.
But you can export the file and then give it to, yeah. Okay, so let me lock in on this timeline, though. So you launch it mid-December. That's the 1.0 version of it. There's some huge nuggets. You started a community, super smart. If you're going to create a product, you have customer support, but you kind of hacked it by doing a Discord, which creates a community and support and a whole kind of little mini movement around people that are passionate. You also have a Patreon, and it's a huge key. I think that people get overwhelmed thinking about launching a product, even if it is a digital course. I think about Video Ranking Academy. Like, we don't really number it anymore, but we've reshot it multiple times. But it was like 1.0 and then 2.0, and then it was other and getting your product to market. It's a very like Silicon Valley mindset called ship it, SHIPIT, like ship it, get it in the mail, because once it gets in people's hands or get it digitally sent out, once people start using it, the user feedback loop helps you improve the product once it's in the hands of the community and you're listening and you're engaging. And so just realizing that everyone's trying to make it perfect on their first try, as opposed to realizing there's going to be version 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and just get your product out there. Good enough, of course, like minimum viable product, MVP would be the goal to get a product into people's hands. And so it's really inspiring to hear about how that happened. But from 2022 at the launch, like how did sales roll in? Like how much money did you make maybe in that first year, second year?
First 2 weeks was like 20K. And then once we did our first like $30,000 month, I was like, whoa. First year was 227,000. And then that was 2023. And then now we just crossed 4,000 units sold. I think like 2 weeks ago, going pretty well.
Over 400K now. So going into 2025, basically it was 2023 all the way through the year, 2024 all the way for the year. So essentially, in 24 months, you have generated like $400,000, and your other, so then how does you're still doing ad revenue,
oh, that's garbage, $700.
Okay, but now then that's where sometimes I don't think people understand. They're like, I heard Roberto Blake said ad revenue could be like your tip jar. Ad revenue could be like it's nice.
Look. I'm not dissing on ad revenue. I'm just, I say garbage. It's just like now to get that thing to move up it takes so much, and
is that a month though? $700 a month.
$700 a month. That's
Yeah, so $700 a month. Affiliates?
Affiliates like 200.
Okay, and then sponsorships.
This is where things. Are a little bit better. I go out and I go to the trade shows, and I don't know what it is about me. I just follow my nose and I run into somebody that knows me from the video. Dude hits me up. Dude from India, we love your content. We love your Dolby Atmos mixes. We play it for all our customers in India. They love it. I'm like, oh, here, boom. And I had 5 USB sticks with my brand newest one. And so anybody who meets me at a trade show gets my newest Dolby Atmos mix. And then this other guy's so if that guy hadn't stopped me, I wouldn't have met this other guy. Well, I ended up, they flew me out to their place in Texas. They paid me very well to just hang out. With them, wow. listen to their equipment, listen to their speakers. They redo that. They're like, okay, right? And so it's almost like if you want to get those big brand deals, what did they say it all the time. I've heard it from a bunch of entrepreneurs say, first things first, sell to the rich. They have the money, they have the means.
But explain that. So here's you need the influence first, though. Because now, you're saying, you can go to a trade show, they recognize you from the video. Maybe speak to when was your first sponsorship?
First sponsorship, I don't even remember. A couple $100, $250.
What year?
2019.
So maybe 2 years after your channel started, you get $250 and maybe some free products in that era as well.
Yeah. Okay. We're not talking anything expensive, nothing over $500.
Okay, so you get early days, you're hacking, but now you're talking about, okay, now you're a techno dad, right? And you've grown your channel and you've got more influence now, 132,000 subscribers. Plus you've got, this also speaks to just staying power. Same thing at Think Media. Obviously Think Media has pulled some decent numbers. There's something also just about not quitting. There's something about being around. There's also something about being around. I know people pivot, but when you stay in the same niche, your brand goes so deep, YouTube, tech, and cameras, to where you're recognized at trade shows. Let's like make it a goal to be recognized at trade shows. And you don't have to be big for that to happen. Sometimes it's just, I think about even the CES culture. I was there for so long. Now we're more in Seattle with family and stuff. And I think probably like coming up, Craig and Nate and other people will be there. But the bottom line is like, you just start something about building your network, something about getting your face out there, something about, and the compound effect. People are trying to go there like one time and they're like, why aren't deals coming my way? It's like you're consistent year after year. You've been doing this. We're talking a 7-year journey, consistent with good content, consistent with being techno dad and being Atmos and audio, just going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think you sometimes have to kind of like reinvigorate your passion for it. I would love to hear about that because I just think about, there's times where I'm like, really? I mean, this is my self-talk. Like, okay, I've been to the thing before. Is there really going to be that much new cool stuff? But I have to remind myself that even though I might be really familiar with my niche, it's new to other people. And I have to find ways to like re-inspire myself to like get just as like opening up a camera on Christmas Day, geeked out about cameras, about gear.
So there's a big home theater show called Cedia. It happens in September, Denver, Colorado, right? I've been there plenty of times, and I had like some of the best coverage and the best interviews. I've never interviewed anybody in my life. My first interviews were Cedia 2018, and even the guys and I'm talking to engineers, right? These guys, you really have to like control the conversation. Otherwise, it's crickets, man. People falling asleep. Yeah. It's boring, right? They're engineers, right? And they're talking about all this like, oh my gosh. And sometimes I watch these videos. Like if they're like trade show video, 5 to 6 minutes in, out, fast, clean, done. Right? When does it release? What's the price? And is this a better upgrade from the previous year or the previous model? Like those are the main questions I would always have that plan and just kind of steer the conversation into that direction, especially when we're trying to wrap things up. But I've been doing that so long. All these other guys are doing it now, and I had that injury. I couldn't go in 2020 or for 2021. I went last year, this year. This was my first year back. And that's when I was just like, wait a second. I don't want to run around and shoot. And I remember running into you years ago.
We shot a video.
Saying, I was like, yeah, no, this was, I think after that, maybe, when I told you, no, we're not just running around covering everything. We're going to the booth with my wagon of studio gear, and we are charging companies to shoot a booth tour at the show, but make it like the studio, right? So now we're charging like $1,500, $2,500 per booth, and I'm there for like two, 3 hours. I bring everything. I bring my Edelkrone sliders. I bring my fancy camera, my
I remember you
tripod. You know,
pitched me the business model because we shot a video together one year, either CES or NAB.
Yeah.
But I ran into you. Were like, bro, no, I'm not just like doing interviews now. And I think that's the evolution of wisdom. You also like even reinventing yourself, finding a way to make even a trade show fresh. When you go in, am I just gonna do the same thing I did last year, but like bringing some freshness to it?
Right.
How much did you charge for a booth tour?
It started at $1,200, got up to like $2,500. And it would be like same day edit, right?
Who edited?
And then
you just do it that night, or?
Yeah. And then that's the other thing. I never had fun at these things. It was all just work. Oh, here's a big tip. Pro tip. Wi-Fi at hotels suck. You're trying to upload a 4K video. You're trying to be like me and upload 6 4K videos. No. Put that sucker on a hard drive. Look up the local nearest internet cafe. Go there, like a LAN. They have like the LAN games, whatever. Go there. They've got like a T1 upload. Boom, 12 minutes. You got all your content uploaded.
Get the videos done, upload everything all at once. That's a genius hack. Whenever I go to Vid Summit, VidCon, you have no prayer of like uploading anything on Wi-Fi anywhere. Your LTE is weird if you try to use hotspots and all kinds of 5G even. That's the hack. I mean, there could be a whole other. This is such like niche advice, and I think any creator listening to it that made it this deep and so far, I think it applied this because you might be like, well, okay, these guys are talking about like maybe shows that aren't relevant to me, or I don't do tech or audio or whatever. But it's like there's trade shows in like home and garden and sourdough and farming and there's flat earth conferences. I don't know why I went there.
Even
trade shows for everything. Like go create content, shoot some interviews, get creative, cover the booths, biz dev, sponsorships, brand deals, hustle, get out there. Go to the internet cafe to upload the footage.
Right. And the best part is they open at 10 p.m. I'm done. I'm like, oh, great, because I'll be done at like midnight, editing, and then just go there, upload, then try to get some rest for the next day. I've stopped doing that because I want to have fun. And I find out it's more about the connections and the networking at these events. And in this last one, I had this like situation where a lot of people started asking me, a lot of these wealthy people are asking me like, hey, this is my space. What kind of speakers, what kind of sound system? And these are like nice looking places. And I was just like, oh, wait a second. I know. And at this home theater show, these are like, Sean, we're talking $300,000-$400,000 home theaters. We're talking $800,000. Home theater. We're talking about a pair of speakers that are $150K, right? Like this is not the cheap stuff. And they look like art. And so now that's when I started this consulting company where people can come to me and, I have a consulting fee and they'll be like, look, this is my space. What's out there that will fit this space, look cool, and not a bunch of black boxes all over the place, right? Like they want something that I coined this phrase on my channel. Everybody started using it. WAF, W-A-F, the wife acceptance factor, right? Right? What can you put in your home that they're not going to be like, no, this can't, Like if it's in a living room or in whatever, fancy dining room, like there's so much, like there's speakers made out of glass, bro. They're like, oh yeah, it's cheap. They're like, it's cheap. I'm like talking to the dealer. Yeah, it's cheap. This is the cheap pair. It's $15K. The flagship is $75,000, and
what's so funny is like we were remodeling a house and my wife was doing it more like antique and vintage and like there's the
JBL L series. That's
the Samsung art piece TV or whatever, right?
Oh, the frame, yeah, the frame,
because like more than anything in the main in the living room, she wanted like more of the vibes and the look, even though it's like not the greatest TV if you want to watch movies or whatever. Bottom line was I started looking for like bookshelf speakers and found like white to match like kind of like the antique shabby chic and like some polk signature with kind of gold, accents on it or whatever. And so I hadn't heard the term before, but that was my mindset. It was what was the wife acceptance factor was my filter for what I could come up with and find. And it's interesting because it speaks to just the evolution of this career. I mean, if we are thinking about, how you have really turned your knowledge and your experience into a six-figure and multiple six-figure business. You've launched multiple different products, but you've also become just deeper expertise. I think the path to consulting is something everyone should consider once you have real legacy under your belt. And it also ties into that big idea of selling expensive things to rich people. Do you also do any kind of affiliate? Like, do you get commission depending on what you sell, or do you just keep your fee flat?
No. So like it would be a flat fee to charge the client, but then I work with whoever's supplying the gear to get a commission, not an affiliate commission, because that's Amazon's like 2% garbage for a TV or for
you're
any
like a
kind
much
of
higher end. You're not an affiliate. You're like a.
It's almost like I'm not a dealer. I'm not any of those things, and I don't want to be any of those things. I even talk to
you're
a
not
bunch
technically,
of them.
but the markup that a middleman would have, is that kind of your markup?
I would get it from the dealer getting them the so I charge the dealer and I charge the client.
Got it.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's almost like
you're
a-
not
like a
marking
finder's
up the
fee.
cost of the product, but the fact that you're there is the same as a distributor would be, though. A distributor's got to make money in the middle somehow.
Yeah, it's almost like I found some clients that want to spend $70,000, and then they'll give me like whatever percentage of that.
Yep.
That's the new business I started this year, which also under the same umbrella is my mixing Atmos, because now I'm getting to this thing where my Atmos mixes, all my viewers are like, this is better than any of the stuff I'm hearing on Apple Music, which is a huge compliment. And this just goes back to the fact that I've been doing music since I was little. I've been producing music since I was 2005. So like all this stuff is just me being me. The home theater thing I was doing when I was 12. Like it's, when you talk about like staying power, it's just this isn't a job. Like I don't feel like all these things are just things I'm doing because it's all just part of me. So I think I'm unique in that aspect. Like I'm not trying to find a niche. The niche was already there. I'm the niche.
You
right?
are the niche. Yeah,
Right?
I've heard some people teach that before. And I mean, if you could be blessed, sometimes it's not as clean or as clear for others. Plus, there is an evolution. But like, man, you just said I found a way to monetize my hobbies, and you continue to do that as well as you evolve. As we land the plane, I just want to touch on a couple things. Let me hear if I got this right. You do have like 5 income streams and maybe a couple more, but right now you've got ad revenue, you've got affiliate marketing, you've got product sales, which would be your spatial audio calibration toolkit. You're doing sponsorships, you're doing coaching and consulting, really more consulting and kind of mixing under that through Atmos AV Consulting, which is your business. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
I'm curious, like you've broke down so many tactical tips in regards to your journey. If you had to start all over right now with what you know, and you were speaking like a friend came to you and was like, hey, I'm trying to get into the YouTube game, but I also have seen that it's changed. I don't have 7 years, runway like you do. How would you maybe approach it, considering your perspective from everything you've been through and everything you've learned, if you were giving some advice to a friend that's trying to make their way and cut through the noise, the sea of sameness, the competition?
I think anyone in their 30s or 40s, this is probably a good time for you to do something, because you have experience, you have knowledge. Like, I hate the word influencer, although I fall underneath that category, because when I hear the word influencer, I imagine some girl like dancing around on TikTok or something, or like some, wannabe models that are now models because they have a big following on Instagram, right? Like, if you actually have a way to provide value to a large number of people, start building your audience. I met this guy on my birthday at the gym, and I just ended up sitting in his car talking to him for like 2 hours. He said he has a book on mental health. He's a doctor, Dr. Doug. What up, Dr. Doug? He's like, yeah, I'm going to have to start running ads to this. I'm like, no. Do you need money from the book right now? He's like, no. I was like, okay, take the next year. Build up an audience and give all the little things in the book at different points. Do some content about yourself. Like he was doing this thing where he's riding a bike 10 miles every day for 30 days. Like do that, sprinkle that in with your content. And like once you've amassed a bunch of people, then you say, hey, I have this book. Otherwise you're just, and then people will buy the book right then and there. Like build the audience first, and then he already has the book, but he's going to spend a whole bunch of money on ads. Nobody's going to know. Oh, book release. Okay. It's like if you don't have an audience to sell it to, then you're not going to make any sales. And you're going to be in this thing where you're just pumping in your own cash just to pay for ads, and nobody's going to know about this book, right? Like when you and Benji made YouTube Secrets, right? If you would have made that and not had an audience, well, it wouldn't have been the best-selling YouTube book on Amazon, right?
That was the preemptive move. We literally thought exactly what you just said before the book comes out. We thought it was only going to be 1 year. It ended up actually being 4 years, but it's the #1 best-selling YouTube strategy book in the world right now. And so that's really great advice. And I agree with you too. In your 30s, in your 40s, 50s, 60 plus, the world, I think we all know, the world is overwhelmed with information, but is starving for wisdom. And so the advantage you have if you're in your legacy years, midlife, legacy years, you said it, it's experience and knowledge. And if you can learn these skills, be patient, provide real value, build up an audience, that's a great advice. I do want to deliver on our promise and have you share. I've got to take my kids to get some haircuts here in like a second. I only have a few minutes, but
I gotta eat lunch, man. I just came straight from the gym straight to here. So.
You know what it is. We're out here on the podcast life, just hustling midday. But you mentioned dealing with like negative support system early on. How did you maintain focus building your business despite that resistance? And you realize you're the only person that can change your situation. And like, what was that? Depending on what people are going through, some of the mental stuff that like you went through.
I finally it was a matter of, I could see all these things that are happening and there's just, me going in this direction, but it was always like, somebody bringing you down or the situation where it's just like, this isn't an ideal, just my location wasn't ideal. The situation wasn't healthy anymore. It got to a toxic point. And I don't know, I made sure that, the kid was over 18 because it was my duty to like raise this other person's child and to be a functioning member of society. So I stuck it out till that happened. And then now it's just like, well, I don't think I want to be with this person anymore. I don't think they're adding any kind of value and just kind of draining me to the point where like there's a picture that I took when I went to Sri Lanka. I went to go see my dad and, went with my mom and we went to a wedding and all this kind of stuff like earlier this year. And oddly enough, the little photo thing did a 2019 and then a now. Oh my goodness. If I show you that picture, I looked drained. I looked like a totally different person. It was just like the life was like sucked out of me for so many years that like something had to change. And just seeing that picture was pure validation that I made the right decision. And it was not easy. Like it was very traumatic too. Like I left with my fancy camera, 1 laptop, 2 hard drives, and the clothes on my back.
That's I appreciate your vulnerability, sharing that. And everyone's going through all kinds of different situations. But sometimes toxic relationships, being in a location, relationships, your support system. Sometimes making a major shift and a major change is such a key point to getting into the right mindset, not just for YouTube, but for your own health, for your future. And I appreciate you sharing that. Well, if people want to check out what you're doing and check out your channel, give a few shout outs as we land the plane here. Of course, we'll link your stuff up in the show notes. I just want to acknowledge you for sharing so much tactical.
Yeah. Oh, dude, my YouTube channel got hacked in June, bro. Crazy stuff. Like all kinds of crazy stuff happened. So like, that could be another,
You got it back.
I got it back in 8 hours and Google didn't want to help at all. But my friend, who's also a YouTuber, because we just finished our podcast and it happened like right after.
Yeah.
He contacted YouTube creator support and I have the link. I have the like, hey, this is the like, the bleep link to like actually fill out the form to reset everything, all your stuff back to you. I have saved it. So if anybody wants, I'll share that with you, your team, because that's something that you're definitely going to find.
We got hacked. It took us like 11 days. It's kind of stressful. Think Media podcast channel got hacked. I'll link that video up in the show notes. We actually, and we not only the story, but we have had some guests on that share some tips, must know information. Sometimes too about having like your login info on the USB drive that helps you like only locally be able to get into the channel and things like that, because it was a pretty sophisticated hack. But anyway, shout yourself out if people want to follow you, connect with you.
youtube.com/@technodad. I also had to restart my Instagram. So if you guys want to follow me up and hook me up, go to Instagram. I'm at @TheRealTechnoDad, because there's somebody else has my account. So I'm now the real everywhere. Yeah, right. So and Facebook as well. Facebook as well got deleted. My personal Facebook got they did something. It got me banned for life. So I had to redo that. So at The Real Technodad on Facebook, at The Real Technodad on Instagram, and Technodad on YouTube. Spatialcd.com if you want to check out the product. I know probably none of you may have need for this, but check it out. Check out the website, see what we got going on.
Well, I just appreciate you. Thank you for adding massive value and Think Media Podcast. Like, rate, share, review wherever you watch or listen. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and I can't wait to connect with you in a future episode.
Colgate Optic White's unique technology gives you a visibly brighter smile in just 3 days.
Sheba, what cats want.
Only getting isolated results? Big gains come from AI that works across all your data and applications. The AI built for business, IBM.
This is a secret. Oh, really? Because it's going to go on television and then... I'm Stanley Tucci, and I believe that the best way to understand what makes a country and its people unique is through their food. Whoa, that is delicious. I'm exploring the essence.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Of each region.
It's a big honor. It's an honor for me. Are you kidding?
In the country I love, Italy.
On a blog and rank other people's, and you're just number one. And so you just make, it's your own list. And shout out to everybody. Else, like I mentioned there, you're just, you're number one on the list. That's a real thing, actually, like, because, and so it's kind of this idea that, and I've made such videos as like best YouTube strategy books. Pat Flynn, super fans. A couple other ones I mentioned, every YouTuber should read. Pat Flynn, super fans. I don't know, Millionaire Messenger by Brendan Burchard. YouTube Secrets by Benji Travis and Sean Cannell. Put myself in the list. But again, you're thinking about at what level of awareness. Okay? And so number 3, though, your own products, your own services, you could go to high intent leads and sales, your own products and services. So I was working with, this one-on-one client, and that we're kind of testing out this program. I mentioned it a little bit yesterday, and he's got a roofing company. So we went and we looked at competitors, and so the search term is how to get leads for construction business. Like, I fall in love with a title like that. It's weird. I'm weird when it comes to SEO. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Because the intent is so high. Like, think about how specific that is. I want leads. I have a construction business. How could this apply to your channel, to what it is you're doing? What content could you put in front of this? So they know they have a problem. They're not getting leads, but they're unaware of any specific solutions. And then sure enough, right, a couple different channels here have these massive videos that have been able to grow over time through SEO, because it's a very specific level of awareness there. And so that's kind of meta, leads to get leads to get leads. We do that kind of stuff. Obviously, we're going to help you get leads with YouTube, but you could have a video that then you capture the lead, and that's where he's pivoting. He's built a 10, 12 million a year roofing company. So he wants to help other roofers that are about 2 million scale up. And so he has a very specific, he knows exactly who his avatar is, knows who he wants to reach, knows what his bridge is, knows that he's going to start with one-on-one coaching, and then scale up into masterminds and things like that. And so let's get the right views, and so that we can capture the right leads too. That's an interesting thing. If you get the wrong views, you'll get the wrong leads. Oh, that's cool. Your email list is big with the wrong people. So if we get the right views, we get the right leads, we're going to get better sales. Y'all know Kayla, his word, my walk. I was thinking about with the value proposition of her channel and using this now as a case study to take this a little bit deeper. Are you getting some insights out of this? Does that have you thinking a little bit? Y'all enjoyed this? So let's think about her channel. She's helping people with Bible study, wants to get people to get excited about the Bible. And now be thinking about what this could just mean. Not that you would make all of these videos, but it would be that what is the unaware level? So we're going to go through this again. So unaware, feeling lost, the truth about life's biggest questions. That's the broadest appeal level, right? Or is there more to life, what you might be missing? Now, Kayla might say, I know that my business is starting much more focused than that. I know that my ministry is starting much more focused than that. I am meeting people at a place where like they already know they want to read the Bible, they're just frustrated. But it's interesting to begin to think about, we talked about dreaming bigger yesterday. A lot of the conversations I had, it's like thinking bigger. It's interesting to think about in your business, if you feel like you're hitting a plateau, you will use the word funnel. You could say, well, I could expand out with some topics. I just know who I'm talking to with this level of content. And then what journey would I take them through on YouTube and even through my business? You could call that a customer journey. Is there more to life? What might you be missing? Now, problem aware, struggling spiritually. Here's why you feel stuck. Why faith feels distant and how to fix it. At this point now, you feel lost, and maybe it's like, well, like, man, I got the money and I got the family, I got the stuff. I mean, maybe it's a spiritual thing. I don't even know if I believed that there was spirituality, but now, so that would be a level deeper. It's faith and spirituality a level deeper. And then solution aware, a path to stronger faith, 3 steps to grow, or how to deepen your relationship with God without feeling overwhelmed. Product aware is like how deep we are at the Bible study made simple, the best way to grow your faith. What's the best Bible study method? And here's what works. That's how deep we are down in the 5 levels of awareness, where we're now seeing, okay, I know that like, so there's the Bible, it's gonna be very helpful, but man, how do I unpack this? How do I understand this? How do I understand these different forms of wisdom literature and narrative and the different things that are in there? And then she has a membership, and at some level, it's like most aware, ready to go deeper, join this life-changing Bible study membership. And that could be pivoting to product, but even if we set products aside, there's still like, I sometimes think of the deepest level is a super Bible study geek already, and yet they're ready to go even deeper. So as you're thinking about engaging with your audience, thinking about levels of depth, how broadly would I reach them? Maybe at the unaware stage, it could be, I just need to make extra money. Like, I just know that I'm broke. And then problem where it's like I'm broke because of maybe financial mismanagement or because I'm not earning enough. Maybe there's solution aware side hustle. Oh, YouTube's one way to make money. Problem where, oh, how do I? And so there's levels where we can and should, maybe not all at once, but make content at every different level. And so I've got a cool resource for you here as well. You can just grab that. This is digital for you. And this is going to walk you through some prompts for coming up with videos at every stage for you. And then I also used the example of my own journey with repetitive stress injury, RSI. And so you got a bunch of cool prompts in here later. You could talk to AI all about this. But if halfway through the document it talks about RSI, because I went through this journey of having chronic pain in my wrist, thought I had carpal tunnel. I started going to doctors. They're like, yeah, you probably do. They were wrong. Here, take some Advil. Not a good idea, really. I mean, fine, but not solving the problem. And then I went from doctor to doctor and then physiotherapist and all around. And I searched all this stuff. And unaware, all I knew, like, I was thinking of an RSI business. Is this hand pain actually carpal tunnel? The hidden cause you're overlooking. Then all the way down to like, oh, I know that I actually had nerve entrapment, just my neck and from being hunched, the symptoms showed up downstream. And so anyways, you could see that to think about, it might really have us, you're like, this is a lot, day 2. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. But thinking about like, these levels of awareness can give us insights in creating strategic videos. And then perhaps these could be YouTube journeys that, and this is worth writing down. Write down the 7-11-4. This is the 7-11-4 rule. So Google has a rule that helps them influence what websites should be ranked in SEO, the 7-11-4 rule. And it stands for, no, this isn't for SEO, this is for conversion. The 7-11-4 rule is something that Google has referenced and what it actually takes to get a sales conversion. When you think about your course, your membership, your book, this is pretty wild because here's what it means. 7 hours, 11 touch points, 4 platforms. Wow. So before you're going to make a sale, someone first needs to spend 7 hours with you. 7 hours. 11 touch points. What's a touch point? They watch a video, number 1, another video, number 2, another video, number 3. They download something for you, number 4. They open an email, number 5. They open the second email, number 6. You got their phone number 2. You text them, number 7. You text them again, number 8. You make an offer, number 9. They go to the checkout page, they don't buy. Number 10, they get an email for cart abandonment. Oh yeah, it is right. I did want to buy that. They still don't buy. Number 11, they get another email for cart abandonment. They purchase. 11 touch points. Now, in those touch point numbers, because 4 platforms means this, they go to YouTube, watch a couple of videos. They go to an email, so they open up an email. You mentioned you're doing an Instagram giveaway. They go to your Instagram, they comment and they engage there. When they're on your Instagram, they look at your stories or the things in your bio and they see some of those could be the reasons they really connect with you. They look through and they're like, oh wow, family, faith. Like they like to hike and they go just different touch points. And so it could be Instagram, it could be YouTube, it could be email, it could be text. Now, again, when we're talking about views, lead, sales, you might be like, do I have to do all that stuff? I'm not saying you have to do all that stuff. And the 7-11-4 rule isn't exactly applying to like a $7 tripwire product or something like that, or like a low ticket offer. But if someone's going to make a significant investment with you, there's something about like we've found. I was talking to Alex Catoni, who is a legendary business owner and copywriter, and she was talking about recently they've observed tracking that their customer purchase cycle is getting longer. Their sales are about the same, but it's longer, 45 days. 45 days from product awareness until purchase. So if you start thinking about the power that we have as content creators and how important it is that we're consistently creating content and just adding value. You know, our think media mentality, I think there's 2 big mentalities in sales, and there's the mentality of, there's like hunters and farmers. I understand there's a time and place to maybe be aggressive and be a hunter when it comes to sales. It's not our vibe. For us, we talk about and articulate we want to be farmers. So to us, it just means we want to cultivate things. We want to plant seed, water, be patient, let things grow. With the unshakable faith and conviction that we reap what we sow, and that if we reap good and we keep adding value and we're patient over time. So we get pretty geeky in this stuff. We use something called Wicked Reports. In fact, one of our legendary team members, Jeffrey, is here helping with the event. He's our ads buy. He's going to be actually at the roundtables with Melissa. So if you want to talk all kinds of geeky stuff. So not only though is he super skilled because he's ads buyer, builds out some ads, but also he does some tracking and reporting. So we use Wicked Reports, which is one way to track like when did somebody join. So we'll sometimes have somebody join a challenge. And you have to think that you have to imagine this kind of stuff happens. They'll join a challenge like 2 years ago. They don't attend. Right? How many things do you do that, right? You're like, that webinar sounds great. I was busy though. So you just opt into it, like whatever. Or you're like, I'm going to read. You think your lead magnet's working? You don't open up the lead magnets you're downloading. You're like, that looks awesome. Sean's thing looks cool. Name and email. And then you just let it go to your email. You're like, I'll save that for later. How many, did you look at your lead magnets from other people? You were pumped to get them and your intent was super high, but that's just life, right? So we'll see like they joined a challenge, like didn't go, like later joined a webinar. Like did something else. And so we'll see a lot of people, they'll join Video Ranking Academy month 8, year and a half later, 2 years later. That's an interesting mentality. to be farming and be thinking about, I just want to cultivate this. I just want to keep planting seeds of good content, nurturing my community. So anyways, when thinking about the 7-11-4 rule, you start thinking about, you can create 7 hours and should be thinking, what's my 7-hour journey on YouTube? Like if somebody had a crazy Saturday and they went all the way from being unaware, like they just knew they had pain, they had a problem, they had a challenge, and then by the end of the day, they could be in your program. Chances are it's not that linear, but they just kind of just follow you all day and they're like, wow, this was good too. Oh, and they led me to this next spot and they kind of binged your content. 7 hours, 11 touch points, 4 platforms, the 7-11-4 rule. And so questions about this, and microphone, we can have it go around too. Can we run this, Brian, real quick? I don't.
The #1 trusted bag to help your beloved leftovers last longer. For the love of food, Ziploc.
SC Johnson.
Do It All Radiant Concealer. Dry, cakey concealer doesn't do it for me. Glow that doesn't settle does.
Would you rather spend your summer like this?
Hey, Jim, how's your back?
Oh, you know.
I hear you.
Or like this?
What's happening? Welcome. Allow me to adjust your gravity. High five. Gravity on.
On June 20th, kick off your summer with
Elio.
You're more puny than I expected.
I could say the same about you. These are the lava tunnels. And I am not fireproof. Just get in my mouth. Actually kind of comfy in here.
Disney Pixar's Elio. Rated PG, June 20th.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And now we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder.
Get 0% APR for 60 months on Pathfinder.
2. Can we run this, Brian, real quick? Yeah, cool. And if somebody wants to run this other one, Keith, thank you.
So when you're thinking of taking them on this journey and then applying the 7-11-4 rule, if you're thinking, because I try to think of when I create the content as in a series, like, right, keep them watching, keeping that watch time going. So if I created a 4-video series, then should I be hitting like then each at least 4 out of the 5 awarenesses then to take them through this journey in order to like get them to the website to purchase or whatever?
I like to think of it more, I wouldn't necessarily think of it as like a 5-video series through 5 levels. I would think of it more as like every once in a while expanding, because you already have complete series.
I do.
Describe one to me.
The how to build your pantry, like how to, so there's like starting at a 1 month, there's a 2 week, there's a 3 to 6 month, and then there's a whole series going into deeper, like besides just the food.
Okay, how to build your pantry, and it's how much series? How many videos?
One of them is a year. I take them each month on what to purchase, and the other one I would say is a 4.
How many videos? 4 videos?
One of them is 4. One of them is 12.
Whoa, you have a 12-video series.
It's literally what to stock up on each month. That's more in depth.
Okay. So here's what I think is cool. 1, this is already built. And do people like it already? Does it already have pretty good views and stuff?
Oh yeah, that one is always generating. That one, it's so search-based too that it's. Constantly.
Yeah, so this to me is like an asset. This would be, I think this is what I'm really glad you're bringing this up. I think of a lot of like YouTube to YouTube call to actions. Like, let's just keep people on YouTube because we're also just more relationship, more value. And if also during these things at any point people could jump off. If we're, and hey, but like, in my case, like, and hey, I have a book if you're interested. And they're like, well, maybe later, but like they're hearing, but they just stay on YouTube. This is, I think, the opportunity. You make one video. So one video that plays a much bigger game and that could lead to that entire series. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
What is is the awareness, or let's ask the whole room, what is the awareness or the pain point of how to build your pantry? What came before that? What are the emotions? What are the feelings of not, this is problem aware, solution aware.
I think the biggest one for them is fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of not having food for the family.
Okay, fear of not having food. What else though? Would chaos be one?
Oh,
or,
yeah.
Like chaos, clutter, stress?
Yeah, I don't have the space.
Excuses then, kind of?
Oh, yeah, major excuses.
Excuses, frustration.
Financial stress.
Financial stress because they can't afford to buy food for the pantry?
Yeah, I think they see my end result and go, I can't afford that. And it's like, keep listening. This is all baby steps, you know? So they automatically sometimes when they see my big pantry, they assume like, I can't do that in one shot. And it's like, and I always comfort them knowing neither did I. So I think.
Okay, what else? How are they embarrassed of their pantry? That's good.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Embarrassed is a very powerful emotion.
Yeah. I never thought of that one.
Well, having unhealthy products.
Overwhelm, and aspiration. We're talking about problems and desires. Okay, this is cool.
Yes.
My staff is extremely poor because of their mindset.
Yes.
And I tell them, buy your energy drink at the wholesale distributor and get 15 of them instead of 2.
Yes.
Now you need a YouTube channel with these hacks.
Right. That's all I'm asking. You're still driving, but take the left.
Yes.
So, here's, and I hope we can all, I want us all to workshop this. So here's the cool thing. You could just start experimenting. You already have like your core content. You can put out experimental videos that could lead into this journey, but at a much broader level. Now, so what would be, any ideas here of how we could make a video? And actually, I want you to share a story about your video that you had. Can you stand up? You mind standing up? Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's fine.
This is kind of a side quest, but it'll inspire the room.
Yeah.
You